Okay, thanks. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the May 14th, 2019 meeting of the Milton Conservation Commission. Commission members are appointed by the Board of Selectmen, the Select Board,
Good catch.
to implement the rules and regulations of the State Wetlands Protection Act and the Milton Town Bylaw. As a matter of formality, we have a tape recorder running under the open meeting law. We invite everyone to speak. If you do so, please come forward and use a microphone, identify yourself, and we entertain all kinds of comments, suggestions, questions, and whatnot. In addition, the second issue of formality is we introduce ourselves.
Judith Darrell Kemp.
And my name is John Kiernan.
Hans Van Lingen.
Alpha Doyle.
Wendy Garpo.
And Steve Ibis, Conservation Agent.
And we're ready to go. First on the agenda is Notice of Intent, 374 Central Avenue. Hi, come forward and join us. Thank you.
There, so use this as reference.
Sure. We do. So- Oh, good. On the board.
Deb?
I have one.
Good. Great. Good.
We're all set to go. If you introduce yourselves and tell us about the Notice of Intent.
Good evening, my name is Deborah Keller with Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors. Here with me is Mary Ann Spillane McInturf, homeowner of the property. As noted, the property is located at 374 Central Ave, and the McInturfs are looking to rehab or renovate the rear portion of their existing home that's on site with a proposed two-story addition and a new deck to the rear of the existing structure that we have on the property, centrally located. What we have done is obviously prepared an existing conditions plan. We had Brad Holmes of ECR, Environmental Consulting and Restoration, come out to the site and review it for wetland resources. He has delineated a bank along the Pine Brook, which runs basically parallel to the property line, the northerly property line. So we then went out and located the bank delineation and identified riverfront, which basically encompasses the entire parcel. Then we looked at the addition, which again is here, is a 28 by 24 addition, which includes renovating a small portion of the existing home and a new deck off the back. So looking at that as the proposed work, we looked at impacts to the riverfront area.
Could you show us where Central Ave is here on the map?
Oh.
So people would know.
Central Ave is on the bottom portion here, and you pull in the driveway here along the left-hand side of the home.
Right there.
Yep.
Central Ave is right there.
Thanks.
Okay. So,
So with looking at riverfront and impacts to riverfront, the proposed addition itself is within disturbed or altered area. Approximately half of it is part of the existing home itself, and the remaining portion is encompassed within the driveway and the existing deck. And then off of that, we have the proposed new deck, which encroaches into the existing lawn currently. So therefore, that would result in an increased impact to the riverfront area of approximately 503 square feet. So as a result, we looked at mitigation. The first step we looked at was as the driveway slopes into the site and comes down and flows towards the brook. So we looked at what could we do to help with the treatment coming off of the driveway. There is some gravel portions to the driveway wrapped around a concrete pad here. So we looked at the lower side of that and created a nice rain garden, which takes up some of the existing gravel area. So we're taking back some of that gravel square footage and replacing it with a rain garden, which will help treat some of the existing driveway. We calc that out. This rain garden has approximately 39 cubic feet of storage. Working back with a 1-inch water quality treatment calculation is about 425 square feet of driveway. So we used the 425 feet square foot number as part of the mitigation, and the remaining mitigation will be through plantings along the brook bank. So in the rear yard, we're looking to pull the existing fencing that runs along the edge of the lawn, pulling it into the lawn approximately, I believe it's about 5.5 feet, and then proposing vegetative plantings here, some saplings, some shrubbery, and some ground cover. And we have one other small area, this tiny wedge here, which we would like to also propose some buffer plantings.
Whose land is that?
This tiny wedge, which I was just about to get into, is, as you can note, is on the left-hand side of our property line. Even though it is on the right-hand side of the brook, it is the abutting properties, abutter's property, excuse me. Mary Ann has spoken with her abutter, and we have provided a letter of agreement that they would allow for that planting to happen on their property. So I
You
have.
mean on the other side of Pine Tree Brook?
No.
On the other side of the property line.
Yeah, it's kind of unique. Where I'm following is the property line
Yeah.
here. So there's a tiny wedge here in between the brook and our property line, which is owned by the abutter who lives on the other side of the brook.
That's what you just said, right?
Yep, okay.
You
So-
know,
That's so weird.
we've done a lot of projects along the brook, and I thought the town had either an easement that runs the entire length of Pine Tree, at least from Central Avenue to Central Avenue, I mean.
They do. Their easement runs here, and it runs along the property line and then continues with the same alignment as the beginning of that property line through here.
Interesting.
So you see there's a dimension line right there that dimensions the easement for the brook.
And it says, John, Town of Milton drainage easement, gives a deed, book, and a
Page.
land number
Yep,
for that.
That was my memory.
yep.
Yes, yeah.
So with all of those mitigation components, it totals up to approximately 1,015 square feet, which is a 2-to-1 ratio for mitigation to proposed impact.
And what about the roof runoff?
The roof runoff will be as existing, which is roof leaders down. Some of it does drain into the rain garden and runs across the rear yard.
So the architect and I
Yeah.
had talked about doing a tiered garden, so all of the spouts or the, I can't think straight. Thank you. Would funnel into possibly another tiered garden on the
Somewhere
corner.
here,
Right, exactly.
So that would be in between the proposed rain garden that we have here for the driveway and the proposed deck. So in this lawn area would be where they would be looking to do a tiered garden.
And do you know the increase? The increase in impervious surface? Combining and I know there was a previous deck, but
Yes.
combining the new deck and the new proposed 2-story addition, what's the net increase?
It's 503 square feet.
Okay. And do you have calculations for how much water that is and where it's going to, I know what you just said.
Yep.
It is going to get directed, but how is it going to get directed to the rain garden? Is
Through
it a
the
sheet
downspout.
flow?
It would be through direct downspouts, and we would grade it so that it could funnel into the garden. Surface runoff.
In the location of the dry wells.
We haven't proposed dry wells at this time.
You're going to have some erosion if you drop it in a downspout and then make it head towards the rain garden. There's going to be erosion there. You're going to channel it, unless you get some kind of a spreader. at the
Well-
bottom of the, there should be some mechanism for
Sure.
spreading that discharge.
Yes, we will. We have a downspout protection at that. You bring it down and not just drop it on the ground on the corner of the structure. You'd L it out and spread it out with usually we have sometimes a small riprap pad, and then go into either sheet flow or a swale, or in this case, the garden.
All right, we need to see the calculations, that the amount of runoff and the specs on whatever this, I'll call it a level spreader, I know it's not one, but
Okay,
the
right,
same
it's-
technique.
Yeah, the smaller version.
Yes.
Okay.
So you're referring to the stone diaphragm, is that,
No, what,
he wants an additional? you're
yeah,
saying-
for the roof leaders, for
Okay.
protection for the roof leaders, the downspouts.
Okay.
I just want to go back for a moment, Sean, if I could. And by the way, thanks for a very, very well-done project narrative. We wish everybody did this type of work. So,
Yes, that's good.
Thank you.
it does say consisting of a rain garden area and roof dry wells.
Oh, I apologize, we didn't, I might have written it and thinking we were gonna do it, and we didn't add it to the plan. So we can look into roof dry wells if that's something that would be of interest.
If it's necessary, I mean, is there,
But it's not preferable.
yeah,
It isn't preferable.
it's not something that carried into the design
Right.
here,
Yep.
Yeah.
so.
I just
it'd
wanted to
be Better off
have
just
things in
for
balance.
consistency
Yeah. Sure,
purposes to
yeah.
limit it.
Right. So if we don't need it, you know,
But the calculations would tell you that.
determine
Right.
that. That's
Right.
exactly right. Back to your
And that's
point.
not a, for your benefit, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's a computer program.
has produced almost the entire.
Can you go back to the, pulling the fence back?
Sure.
The fence right now, does it follow the property line?
It runs right along the easement line, or,
Looks like it offsets it
it's
a little bit.
back farther than the easement line. It's right here, sort of that dashed line.
Yes.
What sort of fence is it?
It's a chain link fence.
We've been there.
I thought we had been.
It's about,
yeah.
was it your project? How long have you lived there?
We've been here about 14 years. Oh,
Oh, we were there
Oh,
5 years ago?
yeah,
5 years
about
ago?
that.
Did you have another project? That's what I went looking for here.
so. Unless my husband is building something, I don't know. She
Secretly
shed,
violating
perhaps?
notices.
It was nearby, but I don't think it was.
Someone's in trouble tonight.
Maybe was it one house removed? The next
Maybe
one?
it was it that close, do you think? It was nearby. I just looked
Across
it
the
up on
street,
map.
maybe?
No,
No, on
definitely
the
not.
across the
side of
street.
the
Oh,
street,
okay.
yeah.
'Cause I remember looking at the fence line.
Yeah.
No, that house had a deep backyard, remember, at an angle, at an odd angle, the back. So it was not this house, John.
I don't remember this one.
I think I remember it.
It's a cute angle to the backyard.
An acute,
Yeah.
or acute, like pretty. Like, you talking geometry or?
Hey, I'm talking geometry,
Okay, I got it.
like a map.
Got it, all right. All right. Any other questions from commissioners? This is a pretty clean line from top of bank at this section, and we've been there a lot, so I don't think we need an inspection for the line.
I agree.
Okay,
I think the proposed mitigation is thorough and,
okay.
above and beyond,
I think the plantings are excellent, just what we would be seeking, so.
They've been wonderful to work with. They've been very, very thorough.
Thank you.
Are there abutters or members of the public that have a question or a comment? Hearing none, we can take a vote contingent. I'd still like to see the roof runoff calculations, and if it's, it's going to be partly in your judgment as to whether or not you need a dry well,
Sure.
or whether or not you can get it from, the end of the leader to the rain garden without erosion. So
Sure.
if you could just add some, spec in terms of what the spreader or whatever, I know it's not a level spreader, but
Right.
something akin to that. We could vote contingent upon that, I think.
Yes, you could,
Okay.
without any problem.
I'll
With-
move accordingly then.
Okay,
Second,
Move to approve. Move to approve.
okay.
Contingent on the,
Yeah, contingent
Right.
upon the receipt of the new plan, and that would be put right on the
Including
plan,
the
because
detail. Yep.
we'll have a stamped plan, and it should include, both calculations and
just
and
the
the
minor
specs.
corrections.
Wendy, did you need to see it, since you haven't been to this area before? Did you want to look at the site or anything?
I feel comfortable based on the proposal and the input that I've heard from all of you, as long as it's appropriate for me to vote. I'm comfortable doing so.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is comfortable, appropriate for you to vote. Okay, if there was a second,
Second?
any discussion? All in favor? None. You're good to
Thank you
go,
very
thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate all your help. Thank you.
You're welcome, Judy. Take care.
Thanks, you too.
Welcome, John.
Thank you.
I used to live very close to this.
Okay, next on the agenda is number 2, request for determination of applicability at 37 Riverside Avenue. Good evening, Mr. Hannigan.
Evening.
We've got the green cards.
Do you have some green cards, or?
Yes.
That's what you can put in.
Actually, they went to see their neighbors in the house. From their neighbors.
Really?
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, pretty good.
Congratulate them.
Okay. And then one from the town of Milton,
Wait, where's the one
who
from?
apparently wasn't available.
Didn't answer the
This one, sorry, Devin.
All right, good evening. Could you introduce yourselves and tell us what the project is about?
Good evening, my name is Robert Hannigan, engineer for Aaron and John Conti at 37 Riverside Ave. They they back up to the old Wallison Golf Course on Riverside, and opposite Riverside Drive is the Neponset River Marsh.
Estuary,
does this-
estuary. It's an
Estuary.
estuary.
Okay?
Right, Ingrid?
Learn something new every day.
Is this near Cortland?
Yes, a continuation beyond Cortland.
Okay. All right, good. So everybody oriented right off of Grand Avenue where you get near the expressway? Okay.
So we presented a plan to the building department, and one of the inspectors, I think it was Walter White, suggested that there was wetlands in the area, which there obviously are. So it was kicked to the Conservation Commission. They recommended we could come to the Conservation Commission, and we had the bordering vegetated wetlands line delineated by Scott Goddard of Goddard Consulting. And those points are located. And we show the 25-foot non-disturb line and the 100-foot buffer from the BVW. And as you can see from the plan, the proposed addition and extended deck is beyond the 100-foot buffer, so.
I'm just thinking, going back, this is again maybe 4 years ago? We were down in this area.
Yes, there's
It was-
two doors down.
2 doors down?
Right,
Okay.
at 51.
Because that was something in their backyard. You're on the same side as,
Correct.
I can't remember their names.
The Barrys.
Steve DeBarris.
Okay, all right. All right, well, it appears to be outside of our jurisdiction. Is there an interest, Steve, first of all, have you looked at the line?
I have. It's a good line. It's at the top of the slope of the bank there,
Okay.
of the estuary.
I don't know if do you remember being there?
I do.
Okay, because I remember
I
there
do.
was a bit of a slope there. It dropped down to where the marsh is.
That's correct.
So it's top of slope?
It's top of slope, yes. So it's a conservative line, what I call a conservative line, which is fine.
Does anybody have I can remember this area just from, the other projects. And my memory is that it is a clean line of delineation.
Yes.
So I personally don't need to go back there, but I do like, as a sort of a general policy matter, I like to have the Conservation Commission members comfortable with, before you approve a line. So I could pass on it, but I leave it up to you, and you may remember it.
I do.
Arthur, do you?
I know that area very well. I've been down there since I was that high.
Okay.
So just to
Maybe a little
confirm, across the street, is it vegetated or is it just open to what's the,
There's some invasive honeysuckles first, and then you get some multiflora rose, and then you get the wetlands line, which is pretty much a Phragmites and high tide bush line is what it is. Okay, that's exactly what it is. I could give you more detail if I went to my notes, but I think that's enough.
all right, yeah, it looks like all the work's outside. So,
Are you comfortable with that, Ingrid? I don't know if you remember being there.
Yeah, I kind of do. I kind
Okay.
of do.
All right, Wendy, would you like to see it?
No, I'm,
Don't
Somewhat
feel any
familiar
group pressure here.
I'm actually familiar with the neighborhood.
Okay.
So, and I trust everyone's professional judgment based on Steve's input.
Okay, all right, that's good. Not our judgment, but Steve's.
Everyone's professional judgment.
I got it. So it sounds like we can accept this line, because remember, if we accept the line, we've accepted the line.
yeah.
And that it's important, so that we don't want to just,
Yeah.
glaze over this.
Yeah.
But I'm still comfortable with saying that this appears to be outside of our jurisdiction, which would result in a motion for a negative determination under an RDA.
And I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, with conditions that the erosion control line be put in as noted on the plan.
Yes.
Very simple.
And there's also a note there that, two notes actually, construction access be by the existing driveway on the east side, which is the right side of the property, and then, as you like to see, no overnight parking or refueling within the 100-foot buffer.
Excellent.
I am thrilled that you said that. I mean that, Bob, I do.
Been here, done that.
You said
I
I
remember.
agree.
east side,
I saw it, I said,
Oh, the west side.
West side.
Pardon me, yeah.
it's actually the west side construction access, because the east side is where the work is being done.
Right.
All right, so, and that's, I don't exactly see where the driveway is. I mean, I get the east and west
There-
side.
On the left-hand side, beside the front steps, there's driveway into the garage, and then on the right side, which is the west side, there's a driveway up to the side of the house, so access would be on the right-hand side.
But you can get your equipment by the house
They can,
and out of
yes.
our jurisdiction.
John, behind you,
What's that?
yeah, there's the house right
Yep, yep.
here. There's the work to be done,
Right,
and this is the west side of the house, right here.
right.
Erosion controls right here. There's our wetlands line, there's our 25, and there's the 100-foot. Okay, just FYI.
Right, no, I'm actually looking at it.
Oh, okay.
Right, so but I appreciate you saying that. So you know it, as long as you know that your contractor has to get the equipment, and any storage or refueling has to be done in your backyard beyond the 100-foot mark, which you can tell is right at the back of your house, existing house. That make sense? Okay. Are there any abutters, members of the public that have a question, a comment, a suggestion? Hearing none, is there a motion to issue a RDA with the conditions that we've just mentioned?
Negative determination, yes.
Okay.
So moved.
Seconded? Yes, seconded, Wendy. All right, good. Any discussion? All in favor? Good to go. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is number 3, notice of intent, 1072 Brush Hill Road, and we have a request, which, if I could find it, is this is the discussion that we had at our last site walk, and this is where there was a proposal for a new septic system, which is generally a very fine idea. But in this case, there's even a better idea, which is the private sewer. So as I understand it, the neighbors are now in discussion to add this home to the private line. There would be a sharing of maintenance costs and whatnot, but it makes perfect sense to us to continue this until they resolve I don't think there are any differences, but until they come to a resolution as to how to join the private sewer. And for the public's benefit, the private sewer actually does tie into the MWRA trunk line. So it's a legitimate and approved
John,
sewer system.
I'm sorry, did we get a copy of that letter, or you have it?
It's in an email to Kathy.
Yeah,
Oh, it's okay.
that's it.
That's different, yeah.
Good, sounds good. Anyone else need to see that, or?
Everybody?
Date in June is June 11th.
Glad they considered the option.
All right, so that will be continued, and can we just put it on for our next month? And presumably by that time, they'll have a resolution.
Which is June 11, second Tuesday.
All right, good, thanks. Next on the agenda is number 4, order condition extension, DCR Houghton's Pond. This is a continued hearing.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. So,
I'm going to put something up here for you, okay? I'll put your 2017 map of the pond.
Okay,
plan of the
perfect.
pond.
You want to identify yourself?
yep, I'm Colin Goslin with Solitude Lake Management here on behalf of DCR for Houghton's Pond. We're seeking a 3-year extension on the current order for management of 2 invasive weeds out there, fanwort and milfoil. Historically, our project is we do an early season survey to kind of assess, if the plants are present, followed by kind of a mid-season survey. We don't treat every year. The last treatment was late 2017. We didn't treat last year because we didn't find any plants. It's a little early right now, but we plan on going out in a couple weeks to see if we need to address any issues. So,
What are these plants? What do they look like? Where are they? How big are they?
the best way to describe
It's an
them.
aquatic floating guy, isn't it?
No, they're two rooted plants, both the milfoil, kabamba, and the milfoil and the kabamba, or fanwort, sorry, but they kind of look like pipe cleaners. The kabamba is bright green, very easy to spot. Comes up a little later than the season than a milfoil. The milfoils tend to start right around now. They spread, how they got into the pond, there's it could be a numerous amount of things, boats, waterfowl, this is a kettle hole, so
There's
most
no
likely.
boats on Houghton, is
Just
there?
like a canoe, maybe. That's, these are all just,
There's a big problem in Vermont with milfoil. I'm surprised that it's here.
yeah, so we've actually,
So they're mostly along the edge of the pond, is that?
yeah, Houghton's Pond's a kettle hole, so it's really deep in the middle.
Yeah.
It tends to only grow maybe in a maximum 10 feet of water, so our surveys kind of consist of littoral zone. They tend to thrive in mucky, shallow areas, as you can see.
What do you use to treat?
So we've
Fully,
used, no, we've used 2 products, 2 USDA approved herbicides. Sonar, which is approved in drinking water reservoirs, it's commonly used. It's a systemic herbicide that affects both plants. And in 2017, we used Diquat, which is a contact herbicide. It's best used in, if it's not infested in the whole pond, if there's a really small section. I believe the last time we treated, it was, 3 acres out of the 24 acres. So,
What would happen if you didn't treat them, if you just let them be?
it just spreads, and it could take over the whole littoral zone. And, I think DCR's, not that it's their only concern, is that, there is, if you, see the swimming area right near that drops off,
No,
but
where is the swimming area here?
it's that purple.
Is it purple, yeah?
Yep,
So I think we can scroll up a little bit.
yeah, let me just scroll up,
Oh,
so
okay,
you can see the bathhouse there.
right.
Yeah. So that's kind of their main concern. They don't want any of the swimmers getting caught up. But to the left and to the right, in the shallower areas, we've found some as well.
Now, are there other aquatic plants in the middle of the pond. I've always heard, every couple of years someone drowns in Houghton's Pond, and I've heard, I don't know if it's true, that what happens is there are weeds or some sort of plants in the middle, and people get caught up in those plants. Is that true? Are there
I
plants in-
wouldn't put too much on that. I mean, I don't want to be put on record saying it was because I didn't know. I don't know about those cases. But there are plenty of native plants out there. There's a native milfoil species, both species of water lilies, Valsinaria, and numerous amounts of pondweed. So, yeah, there is a healthy population of plants out there.
How deep is the pond in the middle? Do you have an idea?
I think it was 60 feet. around.
deep.
So,
What's the definition of a kettle hole?
I mean, it was created by a glacier about 10,000 years ago.
Dropped a piece of ice.
It was actually an ice cube, we could consider it an ice cube where all the land filled in around it. And when the ice cube melted, you've got the water right there, and you've got groundwater at that elevation at the surface of the pond. So it was an area that was ice longer than the larger glacier. Sort of like a little iceberg, only sitting right there.
And I'd say, I mean, if you look in Massachusetts in general, I'd say, I mean, I don't know the exact number, but over 90% of all ponds and lakes, reservoirs are all man-made. So this is kind of a special,
Yeah.
definitely a special pond.
Walden Pond is another one, 102 feet deep. Another kettle hole,
The Cape has a plethora of them. Oftentimes,
yes.
it was a softer soil area, and the glacier just,
It's great.
with its weight and movement, pushed everything out of the way. And then when, as you said, the ice melted, it just filled the hole that the glacier completed.
There are also many dry kettle holes in Massachusetts as well, especially on the Cape.
So these are plants that you're treating that are in less than 10 feet of water,
Correct.
and they interfere with the swimming area, so people wouldn't be able to use the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And when are you planning to use the,
I mean, it's not, we're not definitely using anything this year. I think I went last year out in May and it was a little too early, it was mid-May. So I'm trying to push it to the end of May so I can get a, appropriate count for the plants out there.
How is it applied?
So it's applied, you kind of mix it with the lake water and then it's subsurface injection through one of our special boats that we use. So nothing foliar or spraying.
You said the herbicide is used in drinking water reservoirs?
It is approved, one of the
Yes.
herbicides is.
And I'm a water commissioner in Norwell.
Yeah.
We've used it in Jacobs Pond, which is at the entrance to Norwell Hanover line. And our water supply wells are about 2 miles down gradient, and we've not had any problems. It's got a very short half-life, that particular herbicide.
Which one are you talking about? Sonar?
That's correct.
What about the dicot?
That's a 24-hour half-life.
So
Even
what do you
even
do?
shorter.
What do you do with the swimming schedule? I mean, you
Well,
use it when-
both the herbicides that we use, there's no swimming restrictions. But just to be safe, we do shut it down because we're in a boat kind of doing transects. We don't want anyone swimming out there in a boat. So it's kind of company policy. Per state, federal regulations, we don't have to close it for any swimming restrictions. But we do anyways.
But when you say you close it, only for the application period, or do you give it a 24-hour time? to-
24-hour time. It just keeps people from, the questions, we get less calls and concerns from people. So, we
That's why I'm asking, because if sonar is approved, that's great, but what about dicot? Do you
Yeah.
use that in reservoirs?
Yes, it has even a shorter half-life. Very
I understand half-life, but I also understand that, the MSDS could show, some other,
No, so
Non-benign
there's no
component.
swimming restriction on that as well.
Right.
okay.
Yeah. I think in my town, Vermont, I think they close it for longer.
Yeah, well, they use a lot
Couple
of,
weeks sometimes.
they use a lot of 2,4-D up in Vermont,
Right.
which has a longer,
Shelf life, as it were.
yeah. So it specifically targets the monocots versus dicots, and it's kind of, Vermont likes to use that for some reason.
Right.
I don't think Laura used 2,4. I think they use sonar, but anyway, some towns, some jurisdictions keep it closed for longer.
But for a different product?
Nope, for the same.
For the same product? All right, well, is this, I think you said it's EPA approved. Is it also DEP?
Correct,
approved?
yes.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? And for the public's benefit, we approve this every 3 years or so this is not a brand-new subject for us. This is just a continuation of the
Changed?
prior permit.
Has the chemicals that you used changed from the last time you did it?
There is a new herbicide that just came out that is approved by Massachusetts, but it's not on the GEIR, so it's not ready for use. So
What
technically,
was that term you used? It's not right.
GEIR.
Generic Environmental Impact Report.
Okay.
So they said it's going to be ready this spring, which is, I mean,
Do you know its name?
it's called Procelicor,
Perselicor.
but it's got a very low toxicology profile, the lowest, I think, ever. And I don't want to use the word eradicate, but it has the,
Good qualities to assist the goal.
yes.
Well, are we signing a blank check here? I mean, if we say,
No,
yeah, this
no.
is good, but then you're adding stuff
No,
later on?
no, we would
it's
have
not-
to
It's not
come
approved
back.
yet.
Okay,
So
so
we-
you can't add, I mean, if we extend this permit, it's a 3-year extension, I think, then you'd have to come back to us if you added a new product?
Absolutely, yeah. So we can't really even discuss it, I guess. I'm just kind of
Okay,
giving you.
no, I appreciate that.
Refer to it.
Discussion. Go ahead.
I'm curious, other than the milfoil and the fanwort, is there any impact on other flora and fauna?
No,
The
no, not
application?
that we've ever seen. You know, these herbicides are, even the native plants, it doesn't affect. Sometimes they might get a little beat up, but with such a small area that we're dealing with, usually we've had very good luck.
You said that you treat it with subsurface injection. Is that like down to the roots?
Yeah, it's about 2 feet below, so
2 feet
it comes out, the pipes come out of the back of the boat, and then we have weighted down hoses. It's just so it goes down, the herbicide is heavier than the water, but, you know, it's just a lot safer, you don't have any spray, any drift if the wind comes along, so it's just it's
And
a
it
good
doesn't
practice.
affect any of the tiny microorganisms or anything?
No, I mean, there's all the herbicides that we use have gone through, like, I think it's close to $1 billion worth of testing before it even gets approved. It gets approved by the federal level and then the state level. So, I mean, the testing, it's a lot of testing to get approved.
What is the parent company that manufactures these?
Santo.
C-Pro for
And
sonar.
their friend buyer.
Yeah.
CPRO, that's correct.
Yeah, and I believe it's reward is Syngenta. Diagon. So I could email you if you want. I know it's C-Pro for the sonar, but Syngenta could be.
Has anyone ever thought of doing hand pulling?
Yeah, I mean we do some jobs that are
'Cause if it's light infestation, we do both up near where I am in Vermont. They do hand pulling. They send divers out, and then they also periodically, do sonar and.
Yeah, I know Tom has thought about it. We've, Contituate, we do a little bit of hand pulling. I think it's just,
Depends on how heavy it is, of course.
yeah. and the
I've done
fragmentation.
hand pulling in the Shawshene River in Tewksbury, and it's labor intensive, I must say.
Yeah.
Extremely, with a rake, and a rope attached to the rake.
Yeah, maybe my guess is that, the plants start so close to when the beach opens that, you'd have divers in there till July, but you'd have to talk to Tom. So he's the head of the Lakes and Ponds Division of DCR, so.
Steve, is Jacob's Pond in Lowell on the left-hand side as you're going deep into the town?
Yes, that's correct,
And
just as,
That's,
On 123?
yeah, that's very clean.
actually, it's going to have some of this sonar this year, coming up this year.
It's
Just
well,
every other year or every third year?
Every third year, it's only 6 feet deep at its deepest.
yeah, it's very well.
It was an old farmer's field that got dammed up for a mill.
Yep,
Okay, typical thing.
sure.
You know. The Watershed Association is trying to bring herring back into the pond, and I keep telling them, herring were never in the pond.
Are the fish in Houghton's?
Oh, yeah, there's a,
Does it do anything to the fish?
no, we've never heard anything. I know there's many trout species, bass.
Yeah.
It's a very,
Pickerel, there's pickerel there too.
yeah, it's a very healthy population.
Catfish as well.
Oh, wow, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, are there members of the public that have a question or a comment? Hearing none. Any other questions here? So this is an order of conditions to extend the DCR-approved pond maintenance by use of these aquatic herbicides. And the most concerning factor was me is that we don't sign a blank check, but we're not. So we know what's in there now that's approved, EPA approved, DEP approved. So I think we should give it, go ahead.
Well, thank you for coming in and
Yeah, no
explaining
problem.
all
Thank
this
you.
to
All right, we
us.
need to vote?
You can see we had questions.
We have to vote to
You have to
extend.
vote to extend.
Yes.
But do you want to do it with your caveat that it's limited to these products that were cited?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you say, you said that, man?
Yeah, well, they actually, in the notice, it
Right.
gets approved, because this is like the second extension that well, we probably had more extensions than that, but I can remember at least two.
As long as that's the case, I'm fine.
Okay, so is there such a motion then?
So moved?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? All right, thank you very much,
Thank you very
appreciate
Good
it.
luck.
Thanks,
Thank you.
thanks very much, Colin. Yep, take care. Here's some things to sign.
Next on the agenda is an enforcement order at 166 Granite Avenue. Steve, you probably know more about this than any of us, so do you want to give kind of a presentation about what the issue is and where we are?
I'd be happy to. I'd like to give you just a photo update, actually. There's a photo I can give you, if I can find it. What happened was there was some demolition debris dumped at a particular location, 166 Granite Ave.
Not that.
And let me see, I have a photo or two.
That doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like that.
No, that's Thwaites Brook in Maine. My mother's maiden name is Thwaites, and that's the brook. But here is a portion of the debris right here. Okay, that was dumped. And it's up at the top of a slope. Oops, let's try to get this correct here. Futzing around with the, there we go, much better. That's at the top of a slope. That chain link fence you see in the background is actually at the toe of the slope, and just beyond the chain link fence is a wetland. There's a small swale in which there's flowing water, and the water runs under Granite Ave just past a small substation that the town owns at that location. This is the last house on the east side of Granite Ave.
As you're heading into Boston. into
That's correct.
Dorchester, it's on the right-hand side,
Yes,
right?
the last one on the right-hand side, just
And
before the
We're looking
substation.
behind to
To the golf
the golf
course.
course.
That's
Okay.
correct, okay? So that's the kind of material, and you'll see asphalt in the back there. There was a meeting with a lawyer, an attorney for the owner, and a hazardous waste cleanup professional on May 2nd that I attended out there. Their wetland scientist was on his way, it was traffic, and he was ill, so he went back. But he visited the area later that day. They are in the process of creating an after-the-fact notice of intent to remove the demolition debris that was placed.
Who dumped it and why?
The owner of the property, new owner of the property dumped it, thought it was going to be filling in the backyard.
With this?
Yes. with that. It was a gentleman from another culture, a Vietnamese gentleman who owns a restaurant in Boston. That's all I know about him. At the
Former
present-
restaurant, it's right there.
Former restaurant, perhaps. So they will be coming in hopefully in June. We have a letter from them stating their intentions to remove and file a notice of intent, an after-the-fact notice of intent for the removal itself.
Will they remove it beforehand, or will they wait until after?
They'll wait until after they get their permit.
Good.
I spoke with the lawyer today about it.
Great.
Is there erosion controls?
There will be.
Okay.
There's nothing now, but I don't think it's necessary.
So, I mean, even with the rain that we've had, it's not,
Yeah, it's not moving a long way. really isn't.
Oh, cement doesn't move.
That's right. And there's some soil mixed in.
Yeah, it looks like some silty stuff.
It's really not
there.
harming.
Yeah.
I walked around the yard at the bottom of the slope. It's,
Where did it come from? Did they say?
no, did not say. He might have had a friend who had a friend.
Well, the initial contact, at least that I got from DVW, was that the owner is flipping the house. So that he's not living there or intends to.
No, there's nobody living there. He's also got a building department.
Issue, because
Issue.
he did it without a building permit.
That's correct.
Not the dumping, the renovation inside.
The work inside, yeah,
So the DPW issued an enforcement order, as we did.
right.
So work has stopped.
Is this deliberate? I mean, is there a fine involved? Is this something he should have known better than to do?
I think so.
More
so.
importantly, why was the LSP pulled in?
There's asphalt,
Just because of the asphalt?
yes, absolutely.
And so, did he say anything about anticipating that the material going under the lading? I mean, is it gonna be
Yes.
tracked?
He's
and-
got to make some tests first. So he said test and then BOL,
Okay,
if necessary, if appropriate. And I happen to know him, and he won't do it the wrong way.
You're talking about the LSP?
That's
Oh,
correct.
okay, because the lawyers seem to be aware
Yes.
of what the concerns were.
okay.
Lawyer formerly worked for DEP, so he knows his stuff as well, in my opinion.
Steve, how did we become aware of the violation?
We became aware of it because one of the gentlemen working at the substation in the electrical department of the DPW alerted us. So I thanked him.
And said
Very
there's no
helpful.
building permit.
Yeah, and said, hey, they're dumping next to wetlands. You ought to take a look. Basically, that's how it happened.
Great.
And so we thanked him very much for eyes open, basically, which is great. If we could only get all the town employees to understand eyes open.
Oh, I think they're pretty good at it.
Oh, sure. No, I'm not saying that there's a problem. But he's a particularly good one.
Good.
That's good to hear. So in terms of, next step.
Next step?
Was there any kind of a turnaround time?
We expect something for the June meeting.
Okay, good.
Yep.
That's perfect.
Yep.
So then we'll continue that, but in response to your question, is it a finable offense? Yes, it is. And we've issued the enforcement order, so it's,
In
we haven't
fact, you're
issued a
welcome
fine.
to issue an enforcement order, and we have it right here tonight for you. For
I
your signature.
thought we already did.
I don't think you signed it. I don't remember you signing it.
Not in a meeting here, but maybe,
Would you care to sign
I
it?
don't know, well, if we didn't, we should. Or if I did, we should.
That's pencil, sorry. Pen.
Okay, we can pass that around, so that's that will be on the agenda for the June meeting.
Yes.
Thanks, Anna.
All right. Next on the agenda is enforcement order at 50 Summer Street. This is also a continued hearing. Do we have anybody appearing at 50 Summer Street? Steve, do you know?
Yes, I had communication by email with the owner's daughter
Okay, very nice.
recently, last week, and she said they had hired somebody to work on it, and I said, you're on the agenda for tonight, please have that person talk with me or communicate with me, and we haven't heard anything from them, I'm sorry to say.
Steve, what do they mean by work on it?
They hired a professional, and I don't know, that's what I was gonna ask.
Wetland scientist?
I would hope so, but I just don't know.
Thank you.
We never issued the enforcement order on that one either. Kathy found out. We looked at that.
I thought that's the one that we
I thought we
issued
did.
an order on.
We did, we were there
If we
day
did,
one, we voted for it, and I thought we signed it, but if we didn't, then,
We should.
Kathy was looking in the file, so, thank you.
It's just dragged on for quite a while. It would seem maybe,
Yes,
Initially, they were pretty responsive.
yeah.
last month they had a sketch plan,
yes.
as you remember.
That was
And
last.
I was,
Yeah.
it was a sketch plan.
Sketches being nice, yes.
Right,
Yes.
yes, indeed. And I expected somebody here tonight. I really did. I was led to believe that they would have somebody, but
All right. Will you call, or maybe ask Kathy to call, just to make sure that they show up at the June meeting?
Yep.
Because it is an enforcement order, so they really should come in. And they've been cooperative. I'm not suggesting otherwise.
Right.
But just maybe a reminder that they do need to come in and resolve this.
Indeed.
All right, next on the agenda is notice of intent, 693 through 711 Randolph Avenue.
Should I set the plan, Steve, or
No, which one would you like?
might as well start right at the beginning?
I have a number of plans from you, okay? And just give you a few seconds to find them all and do the right thing here.
We need a flip.
Get the right,
It's held here. Yeah.
Table.
We hold you there for a minute, we've got technical issues here.
I don't know which,
go, and we'll hit the right
Oh,
button here.
we're gonna have to go to the warrant committee. We're gonna need a new tape recorder. This one's from 1962.
I don't know if they still make them.
I don't know.
they're hard to come by.
Yeah.
We have a problem.
It's toast.
All right.
Seriously?
Well, we've got the
Yeah, we have
the TV
yeah,
being recorded. Okay.
It's being recorded.
thoroughly.
All right. We're good to go.
All right, good evening. My name is Jim Burke. I'm a civil engineer with DeSalle Burke Saller. I'm here representing HDMW Randolph Avenue Trust, who's the proponent for 40B. Paul Holland, sitting to my left, is the gentleman looking to place 90 units on 693, 711 Randolph Avenue. Looks like there's only, well, three. Half of you guys are familiar with it. We submitted this way back, I want to say in 2014, an existing addition plan, and we got a superseding order, ORAD, from the state that shows that is showing the delineation of the wetlands that's right there. It's 8.13 acres of land. With rolling topography, it goes from about 160 to the north, all the way down to 108 to the wetlands. Soils are Paxton. We did plenty of test pits to determine the groundwater and permeability of the soils and the like. Paxton classification kind of correlates exactly with what we found.
That's the state soil, by the way, state soil, Paxton.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I didn't know. So I guess what we, you want to go to the next plan?
Sure.
What we're proposing to put on this parcel are two buildings. Building one is the most northerly building, the smaller of the two.
Okay. The next plan doesn't show the buildings, it just
Oh,
shows
it's
the
the construction,
wetlands.
yeah. Next, let's go
Do you
layout.
want to show the layout of the buildings?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Just gonna get these out of the way here.
So building one is the
John?
smaller of the two. That's 13,600 square feet. The larger of the two is 23,500. The smaller one has 30 units, while the larger one has 60 units, for a total of 90 for the site. Access is provided by a 24-foot driveway with a 4-foot sidewalk that's going to cross the wetlands as it gets behind Randolph Ave, and it's going to be supported by precast concrete block set at a width of 42 feet to allow the construction of all the utilities that run up there, the sewer, the water. Oh, thank you. I left mine on my card. But the crossing is right here. The hydraulic connection will be provided by a 12-foot culvert in this location right here. And what else can I say about this? The parking lots that support these buildings is parking underneath each building. I want to say there's 29 spaces in this one, 54 spaces in this one, 73 on the surface, accounting for 156 total spaces.
So when you say 73, that's the first level we'll be parking.
Correct. Yep, correct, exactly right. Want to go to the utilities?
Sure.
That's two sheets down, I think.
Let's see.
Jim, that's the same plan that you submitted to us.
Oh, there are changes on it.
There are minor changes, and we'll go through them.
Okay,
Yeah.
just some minor, but the same number and the same basic location of.
Yes,
the buildings.
yeah, yes.
Utilities.
John,
Kit-
you want that culvert graded for safety like
Grading and drainage.
recommended it?
No utilities?
I've got utilities.
Graded
Good.
for safety?
Yes,
I've got.
know what you mean.
grades to prevent young people from,
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah. These are big.
right,
These are
12 feet.
very bad.
Yeah.
But is it a single culvert or a double?
It's a single.
Okay.
A single, we talked about doing a double, and we'll get into that in a second, too.
Okay. All right, but Arthur's comment was about, putting a grate on the end of it,
The grate?
a grate. Because what's the width? It's 12, it's at least
12 feet.
24,
12 feet,
and you get your
It's
footings.
12 feet, it's 12 feet wide by 4 feet high.
And what's the distance under the road? It's 24
42
plus.
feet.
What is it?
42.
42 feet long, right?
42, so 42 feet long.
Show on
Fo-
the map where
42.
we're talking about. Jim,
Yes.
if you can point to us.
So right, yeah, the culvert's like down in here.
Let me just bring this a little further down.
So the culvert here is 12 feet wide,
Yeah.
Okay,
42 feet long, and about 4 feet high. So you have a 12, so you have 48 square feet of flow area for that. We've done the culvert analysis for that, and it was submitted in your calcs. The 100-year storm event that actually contributes here, and we did the analysis for here, it gets to be, it flows at 108.30, I want to say, existing conditions, and this is actually at 108, the contours, the outside contours. We never topoed the wetlands, so I'm sure there's probably, maybe a 106 in there somewhere. But the 108 is the last contour that wraps around the wetland.
So that's the highest elevation of the wetland.
Correct.
So that would be
Potentially.
either the top of slope or something in the wetland.
It's actually bottom of slope.
I'm sorry, bottom
yeah.
of slope, yeah.
Bottom of slope from actually all angles as it approaches that low area. So when we did the analysis of the existing conditions, the flow through here was at 108.30, or basically 108.4 inches. And then
And the flow is going which way?
it flows south towards the golf course. And
were you here recently, Jim, on the property? Were you recently on the property, looking at it?
I was not, no.
Okay, I mean, in all the rain and everything, is it, I'm told there's a stream currently just running through there, with this extreme.
If you look at, the part of the package is in the review letter, it talks about trying to define a stream going through there, and there is no stream. And it's actually part of the ORAD. There's no stream. So, back to the hydraulics, the culvert in the road raises this up to, with the additional impervious area, and, when we take into account all the flow from Highland Street as well, above this, comes to 108.77, so an additional 5 inches based on the flow going through this 48 square feet as opposed to this huge, large area for a 100-year storm event. And I consider that, I do consider that negligible. But back to, let's see.
I would just note that you said you have not been on the property, and yet you're saying there's no stream flowing through it right now. How do you know there isn't, if you haven't been there in the last month, 2 months, 3, 6?
There haven't been any changes to the property in the area. I can't imagine a stream being created.
Well, we've had an extremely wet, both fall and spring. We've had more water this springtime than we have in 50 years, so
I would have to take a look at those numbers. I mean, it's been a wet spring, but no more so than others in the past.
Au contraire.
But
Just as a, Jim may be thinking of a stream with banks, an incision in the ground with banks.
true.
You may not be. It may be an overland flow, a very wide overland flow, Judith, that I've seen in many wetlands like this. It can spread out and still flow in a southerly direction.
I think
So you may be describing that kind of flow,
That's what I've heard.
rather than
There's a
a
stream flowing
directed
currently.
stream in a very small area. My guess is it's a very wide flow.
But
I've seen it a lot
for
in
this-
places.
I mean,
Does that make sense?
it's kind of a moot point, isn't it?
It is.
Since with the superseding.
There's an issue
Oh,
on
yes.
ORAD that defines the wetlands,
Yes,
and
yes,
stream
it
is
is.
a part of
So that's, unfortunately, that kind of ties us.
Right.
So,
Unless conditions change dramatically, this is 4 years later.
When did you get your extension, January?
We got the extension from DEP.
I think it was January
Yeah, I
of
think you're right.
19.
Yeah.
So they extended it with E DEP.
Yeah, Rachel Freed signed off on it, I think in January. God bless her. So as part of the infrastructure to mitigate for this construction, we've got 6 of these underground detention chambers. They're all 30-inch hand core pipes that are collected stormwater from the surface and the roof. All of the surface water from the parking lots is channeled and is conveyed through a storm scepter for the 80% removal. And then it is, then it goes to a control flow chamber right in here, and it releases it in a, basically a spreader that diffuses the flow and releases it in a laminar fashion. So we meet the stormwater guidelines. It's been peer reviewed by 2 engineers, Haywood Boynton. Haywood Boynton?
I don't think so, it was Nish.
Judy Nitch, Nitch Engineering, did work for the town, and a butter hired their own engineer.
specifically for stormwater or just for the entire civil?
The entire civil. Transportation, the traffic mitigation plan was peer reviewed.
To what extent have the comments been, or any?
I put my both letters that are in there go back to the original letters, so you have the entire conversation and peer review as this project was reviewed. And the final one, the 2 letters that are in the back, section 7, are the 2 final letters that discuss everything. From a lot of stormwater, a lot of traffic, a lot of parking.
That's the ZBA's peer review. We use Chapter 44, Section 53G, to have a consultant advise us. And that's a different procedure, because for the public's benefit, this project has a very long history. And at one time, we were working in tandem with the ZBA. I say in tandem, just parallel tracks, because you filed in both places. And then we stopped. But up until that spring of 2015, we had directed that there should be a hydrological study. And you came in and said, oh, we've already done it for the ZBA. And our position at the time, and this is probably June of 2015, was that we had asked for a particular study for a particular reason. And the particular reason was that as proposed, you're going to have a bridge with a culvert, you're going to have footings, and basically you're filling the wetlands for most of the roadway. So there's going to be a tremendous amount of mounding. Can you go back, Steve?
Yes, I can just show you down here, right there.
So our concern was, and we've got a number of different projects over the years, over the last 27 years, where there's been a lot of water in this area here, and it's flowing this way. So we were concerned back in the spring of 2015 that this roadway would create mounding. Now, I grant you that there's a 12-foot wide, 4-foot high culvert, and that's big. But we had asked for a study, and you came and said, oh, we've already done it. But whatever the peer review was for the
It's in your
ZBA was
package.
not our request. Our request is different.
That culvert, that analysis was done and reviewed by Niche Engineering.
Not ours. That's why I say there's a distinction between.
It's a separate permit.
It's a separate permit, but it's a separate statute. And our statute allows us to have you pay for a consultant for us to advise us. But putting that aside, we're not bound by the ZBA's peer review because we asked for our own. And you said, oh, what you gave to them is good enough for us, but it's not. And the reason it's not is that we're looking for the mounding, and the background to this is we had made a suggestion that you reconsider the roadway with a culvert, which we think will create mounding, and switch to a concrete plank on pylons, because that would create a free flow. So what we're looking for is a very specific study that shows the difference between, if you put this in, the whole thing's not going to be on pylons, but where you have to bridge it, you have a concrete plank on the, like sonar tubes, and that's going to create a flow of water under here. There's no mounding. That's what we were asking for in the spring of 2015.
But see,
we're going to ask for it again.
But the thing is, the analysis that I provided to you, that we just went through, that provided the 5 inches of additional flow, already shows that that particular culvert creates a negligible event for the 100-year storm event. So the mounding that you're concerned about.
How many 100-year storms have we had in the last 10 years?
Huh?
How many 100-year storms have we had in the last 10 years?
None. 0.
Come on, we've had.
0.
Steve, how many?
In the last 10 years?
Well, make it 20. It's certainly not 100.
I
It's
hate
not
to-
100
I hate
years.
to count.
Yeah, really.
I hate
We've
to
had a
count.
few.
We've had a few 100-year storms.
0. A 100-year storm
7
event.
inch.
A 100-year
and-
storm event is 8.3 inches of rainfall in 24 hours.
There's a different definition and a 6 point something
It used to
within
be
24
6
hours.
points.
Well, there's 7. This design's done on 7 inches. And we haven't had 7 inches of rainfall since, we've had it once since 150 years.
2010.
Now,
No. 7 inches?
I think it
Look
was,
at your math.
maybe
I've
maybe
already
not
done
in
the
Milton.
analysis.
In my town, there was.
we've had them, and I would say that we've got
The-
3 within the last 20 years.
One of the oldest meteorological places in the country is right down the street. Those numbers are available. And if you take a
But the
look,
definition changed.
if you take a look at rainfall events for the last 150 years, we've had one rainfall event that approached 7 inches of rain. That was in 1952. And that's prompted your Pine Tree Brook
Wall building.
The what building?
Oh, the
The channeling.
channel.
the channel of Pine Tree Brook.
Oh, that may be true. But anyway, definitionally, I think we've had a number, but that's really not the point. The point is, we had a very specific request. Your response at the time was rejected by the Conservation Commission, because we said we want a hydrological study that gives us a difference between, whether it's negligible or not, what's the difference between using a plank bridge on sonar tubes and filling the land, filling the
But
wetlands?
here's the thing. Here's
We're
what I'm
going to ask for it
saying.
again.
But I'm trying to explain what you have. What you have is without bridge, basically ground zero, okay, and then with that bridge. And with that bridge is it provides 5 inches of additional.
So ideally, the peer engineer would say that, but we're asking for the peer engineer to say that.
Well, we're also asking for the peer engineer to verify that and say what the impact would be for the sonotubes.
Well,
It might be
Design
Well,
it.
3.5 inches.
it would be in between.
Right. But we haven't seen those
It's
data.
it's not a bad question to ask.
Well, to me, it's just so intuitive. It's insane. I mean, from you have a
Nothing
situation.
John does is insane. No, yeah.
Well, to me, it's just, I can tell you that it'd be, I would guess a half an inch for a 100-year
So
storm.
why don't we do it?
So
The
is it-
analysis?
Is it?
We already officially asked for it back in the spring of 2015. We didn't change our mind.
No,
I mean, there are new people here and we can reconsider it.
Right.
But,
I would like to see that study as a new person.
yeah. It's not a bad question and it's not,
I know.
it's not,
It's a reasonable
It's
question
not
as well.
outside of our.
But I have a reasonable answer. And I mean, I can do it. It's just, it's unnecessary. But
okay, so
I would-
let's move. I don't want to get hung up on that. Paul, you want
I
to say?
would request, if we're gonna do that, that we, the town use the same peer reviewer that they used before, so that someone who's already familiar with the project, and that I would get to approve the scope prior to, the scope and the cost prior to the execution of it. If that's the case, I'll agree to it.
Well, we may have to put it out to bid, because I know I recognize that the cost is a legitimate factor from your perspective.
it's not a cost thing. It's actually just someone being familiar with the project already. That would be niche engineering is the,
Under the statute, we have the right to choose our own consultant. It's right there in the statute, and the statute does say that the town has to approve a regulation to enforce that statutory authority. We did. So we've got the regulatory provision that says that we can hire a consultant under that chapter and section. And we've done it, right, we did it on this case. Do you remember we had Lucas Engineering up, Steve, can you go up here?
Sure.
When we were still going back and forth on the wetland lines, we had this section up here, which is a relatively high area of wetlands. You have to kind of walk up the hill to get there.
Higher elevation,
The
right.
higher elevation wetlands up there, but we hired them at that time.
wasn't it Byrne?
Matt
That
Byrne
is
is
the vernal
He's the vernal
pool.
pool.
Yeah, he's the
our
vernal
local
pool guy.
consultant.
No, it wasn't
Vernal pool.
That wasn't Matt.
Lucas. If you said the name, Tom Hooper? It was Lucas Engineering, anyway.
Okay.
But that was under that statutory provision. But that's, that's water under the dam.
Yeah, right.
so to speak,
No
over
pun
the dam.
intended.
Under the bridge.
Under the bridge.
Well, okay. I mean, I guess,
I would just like
So
to,
that-
I would just like to review before,
And I
before it's
think you're
executed, I'd
entitled to
like
that.
to
I
view
think
the
that's
scope
perfectly
and the
fair to
cost.
I think
And then
that's
I think
fair.
we can move on.
okay.
Cover the rest of the project.
Let's see, where was I? We can talk about the replication. We've got,
Before we talk about replication, can we talk about impacts?
yeah, sure. The impacts, 4,344 square feet of permanent, 510 square feet of temporary, totaling of 4,854 square feet of total alteration.
What did the Housing Appeals Committee say about that? Because they came in at 5,200 or something.
That's what
Which,
the,
shock of all shocks, is where we were going back when our original order of conditions.
I think that came from the peer review engineer for the abutter.
Yeah, not.
No, it's in the appeals court.
But
hearing
they were
committee.
part of, that was part of the whole,
They may have adopted that, but that's the hearing committee report that
Yeah.
said that they thought that it was, unlikely that you could keep it under
they
5,000.
did say that, yeah, and that was from Jan. and that
I
was
didn't
from-
make it up, Jim.
No, I didn't say you did. That came from testimony from Janet Bernardo, who was the peer review engineer for Horsley Witten. Now, they said they tend to believe that. They asked us to go talk to MIPA. And MIPA came back and said, you say you're gonna be under 5,000, be under 5,000. You won't have to come and see us. And that's what they said. And we say that.
No,
I've been saying
I
that since day
understand.
one.
But, you can see why we're looking for alternatives analysis.
Sure.
And it's not a bad thing to look at, and that's why that the concrete plank bridge and.
But see, the thing, I don't see that as an alternative with regards to alteration, though. Because I've run into this before, where you put in that style of bridge, and you end up having, it being over the wetland is an alteration. So,
I understand what you just said. I didn't even think of that, to be honest with you.
so to me, it's, the only issue between the two bridges is the flow and economics.
I don't know anything about Paul. You might, might be able to point out, is it more expensive to put in a concrete plank?
I think we did a cost analysis back at the time, and it was 3 times more expensive.
3 times?
Yeah.
Does it depend on how long that is? I mean, if you lift the whole roadway up, it would be wildly expensive, but I should think you could shorten the distance that you're raising up. I don't know, that's why I asked you, because I don't know.
Yeah, there's utility issues along with that as well, for the water, for the sewer. Certainly, from a long-term maintenance aspect of it, it's certainly easier to deal with it as it, not underwater like that, not under a wetland. Because you end up having to, trench down 4 feet below the wetland, put the utilities in, and then actually, I'm not too sure the sewer would work either.
We did
So-
look at, I did the financial, I did an evaluation at the
Okay.
time. But back, I think we actually either presented it or mentioned it in the meeting at the time.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in a while.
Not to us, you may have to the ZBA,
Yeah.
Okay,
but I don't recall seeing that. I think we just kind of stopped.
okay.
Right. But as far as, the replication, we have 2 areas,
I'm not done with the impacts yet. Can you show exactly how the impacts are differentiated? And they're limited to the crossing, I assume, where the direct
Yes.
wetland impacts. So, do you have something that shows, that distinguishes between the temporary and permanent impacts on one of these?
Yeah,
I was looking for
I
it.
want to say I think it's on the previous sheet, the grading sheet.
Okay, let's see if we can find it. All right. Let's see, grading sheet. Oh. Let's see if this is the correct sheet here. Grading and drainage,
Yep.
green colors?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let's, oh, here we go. Second screen. So are those the impact areas right there?
Those are the
Those are the
replication.
replication areas right there.
Rep
The
areas.
the impact area is basically from this line all the way up to this line here. So that's the 4854 in between the resource, the erosion control barrier.
So on the upstream side,
This is upstream,
yeah, I'm sorry, the upgradient side.
upgrading, yeah. Yeah, no biggie.
You're basically showing there's no temporary impacts on that side. I mean, those lines are almost in top of each other.
Yeah, if
So you're
you
saying
go
the
to
only
the detail
temporary
side.
impacts,
if
the
you
only
go-
temporary impacts are on the downstream side during construction.
There is, if you go to the detail side, in detail sheets, there's a cross-section on, I think it's sheet 9. It'll show you where the erosion control is gonna be placed in the roadway constructed. It's meant to go straight through the middle.
I think I have those for
I think it will.
sheet 9. You have the one?
And so I guess my question is, in terms of means and methods, what controls do you think you'll have in place to ensure that that's adhered to, given that it
The
is so
erosion
tight?
control was changed, was changed, and I'm pretty sure you guys saw it. You had like hay bales down there before.
Now, when you say you guys, keep in mind there are new
Huh?
there are new commission members.
Yeah.
So if you're referring to something years ago, it's,
So.
I can't help you with that.
Sure, understood.
Here's trench section, is that correct? Is that what you want to look at?
No, I think it's on the previous page.
Precast,
Is that 9?
yes, that's 9 of 12.
It's basically a cross-section showing the,
Okay, hang on, see if we can find it. Nine of 12, you said a cross-section? Level spreaders? See replication. Goals. Attention.
Not my bad. It's all the way on sheet 13.
Ah, okay, I don't have sheet 13.
What's that?
Sorry.
Sheet 13 shows a limit of work path of 42 feet from erosion control to erosion control. The erosion control is a,
I'm not talking about the distance from erosion control, but the distance from structure to erosion control or work to erosion control.
2.5 feet.
On either
2.5
side.
feet.
2.5 feet.
Yep.
Okay, can you show me with your hands how big 2.5 feet is? That's actually probably a bit forgiving. So,
Well,
I mean,
like I
it's
said-
it's barely enough for someone to walk through.
Well, that's all you need
For what?
to build this bridge.
You don't need any more room than that.
None.
Okay. So, what's our ability for, in terms of construction oversight, to ensure that that's needed to?
Well, but we could do it as part of the same 44, section 53G,
Okay.
but that's,
Okay. I mean, I've never
That's
seen
a-
anything proposed with that level of tight tolerance in terms
Yeah,
of.
I think we had mentioned in the hearings
I
that
would
we
agree
won't
with
have a
that.
monitor.
The way-
I'm just saying, I've never, I mean, that's,
The way you build it, if you
Yeah.
want, if you want, I can tell you.
and so, yeah, we'll just confirm it, but hopefully it doesn't end up adding 150 square feet of impact. Because then we'll stop, we'll call MIPA, and we'll file an after-the-fact ENF, and, I mean, this is some pretty tight math you're dealing with, and, you know, I understand that you don't want to trigger those permits, but it's awfully close.
I agree.
And, you know, in terms of what you're proposing in reality and trying to accomplish that, you know, the worst thing you'd want to do is get yourself stopped mid-construction.
Okay.
So, you know, I'm just, you know, going on record saying that's an extremely tight
Understood.
tolerance.
And I would like to go on the record saying I've just watched 2 large bridges being built. One of them needed 4 and one of them needed 6 feet. And they were bridges over small streams. The streams were 4 to 5 feet wide, each one of them. One of them didn't even have a stream per se. And they needed 4 to 6 feet on each side to work. I have photos.
what are the footings in terms of lateral distance? What's the footing
That's
issue?
the next question.
The footings is crushed stone. So the footings themselves, the crushed stone goes from 40 feet. You place the block on the stone. You
Without
backfill.
any concrete?
Without any concrete.
Really? I
So
am,
the line of the block and the crushed stone is the same, or does the
No,
crushed
no,
stone
no.
extend,
I
extend
want to
out?
say it's either 6 inches or 12 inches,
extending laterally?
extending, lateral on either side.
I am stunned
I think
to
it's
hear
a
that.
foot beyond the wall.
Absolutely stunned.
Boy, that's not much
Looks like a
lateral
foot.
Yeah.
movement.
Exactly. And without any concrete below it as a foundation,
You basically,
how does it not move? is
You
my
set the
question.
stone, you set the first stone below finished grade.
Well, of course,
Right.
but only on a 12-inch lateral?
Mm-hmm.
I'm stunned to hear that. I would like to get a structural engineer to approve the design,
So we have,
Mr. Chairman.
we have it.
That's fine. It's a precast product, Ready Rock.
I think you should request a structural.
All right, can I,
So again, we'll define a scope of what's needed and we'll provide it.
It's already been engineered. We have a structural
The
engineer.
the structural engineer will be stamping this wall.
Okay. Can I go back to something, you finish your thoughts and then I'll go back.
No, we can.
Okay. I'm just looking at, what sheet is this, Arthur? Can you give me the number on that sheet?
Yeah, this is,
No, this one up here. See this one here with the green on it? Steve just had it up there. What's the
This is
number?
6.
6? Can you go back to 6? It shows your replication areas. And this is just for historic, because, a lot of the commission members weren't there at the time.
Sure.
But if you've got, can you get 6?
I can get it up, yes, one moment. Yep, sheet 6. Sheet 6 is a side view, Jim.
Oh, yeah.
Here, take a look. That's sheet 5. That's sheet 6.
Busy reading 6.
That's 7. Where the heck is the rep?
Yeah, right there.
Right there?
Nope, next one.
Right there.
Yep.
Okay, fine, thank you. Yep.
Is that it?
We'll put that up.
I still don't see 6 on this. I must be reading right by it. It's usually
Right
down
here.
We'll get that a
All right,
little larger so you can see it. Move these away.
All right, so these replication areas here,
Yes, sir.
and this is just history, because at one, and I'm not giving you a hard time because you corrected it, but at one time you had the snow removal storage. We were concerned with if you're treating the snow with, some kind of chemical,
Sure.
where you're dumping your snow, because there's not a whole lot of room here.
Right.
And you had, at one time, a snow removal storage area right on top of the replication area.
Okay.
But you moved it. I'm not giving you a hard time.
No, that's fine.
But, so in relationship to the replication area shown in green here on the light green there,
Yes, sir.
where are the snow removal?
Snow
I just
removal,
wanted- This is historic, so that they see that
Yeah.
you did move it.
They really haven't changed much. I mean, you have some up here, you have some over here, you have some down, by Randolph Ave. There's a little bit here. We moved, we put a fence along here as part of the HAC decision, so we kind of eliminated the snow storage over in this location here.
They were on one of the drawings, the snow
Yeah,
storage areas, right?
the snow removal areas are on the drawings.
Yeah, I don't know which one it is.
It's like proposed layout.
I guess what I'm leading up to is because of some of the arrangements or accommodations made in terms of keeping some of the snow removal out of certain areas, the real question is, do we have enough room for snow storage, or are you going to have to take it off-site?
We're gonna have to take
We're gonna have to take some offsite. If we have a year like we did 3 years ago, we'll have to take it offsite.
This last year
Is
wasn't too
that the
bad.
layout?
No, that's good.
Sheet 4 would be where the snow,
Sheet
it's
4?
hard to see though, it's a very light line.
Oh, I think that's it, Jim, isn't it? The red areas there? No? The red areas that you have in squigglies?
What are these
Right
red,
here, is that snow
up here?
right there?
What are these areas?
I don't think that's snow removal, I don't know how we get it there.
I just don't know the
This is at the
significance
end
of the
parking
red
lot. This is at the
squiggly
end.
lines.
That's at the end of the park. Those are all ends of parking lots.
They're all,
Those red lines look like they're at the
It
end of
actually
parking
says
lots.
snow storage. I can read
Does
it
it?
from
I
here.
can't see it from here.
Yeah, that says snow
you
storage.
can read it?
Good eyes,
Sorry.
boy. Yeah, that is snow storage.
There's another one here, is that correct?
Well, this does, right?
yeah,
Right here?
it's on sheet 4, is
Yeah,
snow
that's-
storage.
Oh, really?
But is
Go
that,
down-
is
go
the,
down
does
another
the
sheet?
red line indicate that? I mean, I know it, I know what it says here, but it doesn't say it over
The
here.
coincidence of overlap.
These are the wrong plans.
Jim, you sent them to me yesterday.
All right.
Yeah,
Those are the ones you sent
Actually,
yesterday.
that has a label up there. It says snow storage area,
Where?
3,000.
Is it, isn't this gone now, this island?
Yeah.
Up here on the right. It says snow storage area, 3,550.
Oh, up here, yeah, okay.
Snow storage.
Yeah, it's meant to be the red, yeah. But like I say, this is gone now.
This is,
So how is that?
I only have one left on sheet 4, so maybe we need an updated set of these plans.
This is sheet 3. Would you like me to go to sheet 4?
Well, take a look at the,
No.
take a look at
There's
the
sheet
date.
4.
I've got revised April 29, 2019.
Yeah.
And the date
But
here?
I'm sorry, I'm looking at it.
See a date on that,
I'm looking at
Jim?
sheet 6. I'm not looking at that one.
Yeah, that's from 2015.
Oh, this is what you sent me. No kidding, because I didn't have any others, remember?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So the hard copies you sent in,
Hard copies are okay. Digital,
digital, sorry about that.
sorry. Yeah, that's all.
Here we go. Hans?
Yeah, the landscape plan, that shows the snow storage areas. or
Is snow
Limited
storage.
snow storage.
Snow storage.
I see two
Snow
areas.
storage, yeah.
And what's the date on this one?
We were not looking at that earlier.
We
Revised
didn't have,
For it.
yeah,
Correct.
down there?
so,
Yeah, it's right here.
Good, thank you, thank you.
That says 15.
15, yeah.
All right, so there's some confusion, Jim, as to which one, because we're looking at 2015 plans, 2014, and 2019 plans.
I mean, this, the 2019 plans were delivered with the book.
All right, well, this one I just gave you.
So this is the landscape plan, this looks like it was done
Yeah, the
by.
landscape plan.
landscape,
So
we
this is-
didn't,
The landscape plan hasn't been updated.
we didn't change that.
Okay, so that's,
So it's just
that
kinda
needs to
part
be
of the
made
record.
consistent with
Just be a part of
whichever
that.
is the current.
Yeah.
So we need to see some,
yeah, this is October 2014.
Well, you know, this is a very large project and a lot of information to absorb, and I just want to make good use of our time. I think probably the newer commission members that weren't here in 2014 and 15 should probably see the site, because it's it's interesting because it's, oh, now I get it. It's a whole lot different than looking at like a engineering
and
plan.
are the wetland flags up on the site? So they can understand exactly where the wetlands
I
are?
would say there's probably some evidence, but,
You'll be able to figure it out. You gotta wear
yeah,
big
that's
boots.
true.
In the vicinity of the road, the impacts and where the wetland replication are, would you be able to replace those flags in advance of a site visit?
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
asking.
that's- Yeah,
Is
that's,
that a reasonable ask?
Yeah, that's reasonable.
yeah.
So just so we have a clear
Yeah, I
understanding
understand what we're taking down.
where the
and-
impact areas
right.
are. So
No,
I'm not
absolutely.
asking all the flags back, because,
Yeah, no, that's, yeah, sure.
Impact area and rep area.
I mean, we can certainly get, some good
If you-
representation down
if you can
there.
get more, that's great, but,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the most important thing that we want to make sure that we're clear on.
And just by way of history, and I don't think you were here, Hans, I know Wendy wasn't,
And I wasn't either.
and you weren't either, but when this was first filed, because they were filed simultaneously, the ZBA had not issued a comprehensive permit, and as a consequence, we were still looking at the town bylaw. Once the comprehensive permit issues, then we have no town jurisdiction. We only have the state jurisdiction. But at the time, there was no comprehensive permit. So we actually denied this permit on the basis of the town bylaw, and we then deferred a ruling on the state application, the state notice of intent, which is here before us now, because the comprehensive permit did issue. The scope of it is being appealed, but the comprehensive permit did issue. But going back to one of our concerns, which is not under the town bylaw, but one of the concerns is, as you said, these, the work, the limit of work is really tight. And our 25-foot, the reason we ruled against it was because the 25-foot, that's gone. And you can see, for construction period, you can look at the 25-foot line.
Calc for the 25?
Do I, probably do, yeah.
Okay.
So we have no prohibition, but it's just of interest that in terms of what's going to happen, what is the impact of the building and the work area? And you just look at where your wetland lines are and how close the buildings are. That's of concern, but I acknowledge to you, I'm not talking about a non-disturbed zone.
Yeah.
But it is interesting, I mean, all the trees that you see out there, they're gone. And it's very difficult with the parking and the roadway and the buildings to preserve anything.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, with the type of development
Yes.
that's proposed, I mean, that's,
That's
yeah, with the density,
right.
I mean, that's not, so.
What, I don't think weather is an issue any longer. How long would it take you to get indicate these replication areas?
Probably the following, by the end of next week.
Does anybody have any issues of,
The end of next week is Memorial Day weekend.
I know, that's why I was laughing, because I know, I'd say, so what? We could do it then, but I know some people travel, and I get it.
I've got a wedding.
Okay.
You tried that on the 4th of July one year.
Oh, I know.
That's the last you get away with it.
Oh, well. What holiday?
How about June 1? That's the following week. It's not a holiday.
Could you do
June
it,
1.
could you do it that fast? Okay.
Sure.
Is that, June 1's good with me?
And this is a
think so.
public meeting.
Yeah, oh, yes, absolutely. All right, is that doable for Paul? Is that good with you?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't have a conflict.
I'm fine.
Good?
Unfortunately, I will be out of town.
Okay, then let's shift it, because it's really for, your benefit, and Jerry Burke and Hans. You haven't been on site, I don't think, have you?
Not officially.
Okay, okay.
Maybe
So
do
what's a good date for you?
I am going to be here Memorial Day weekend.
The 100th, all right.
Very funny.
Trying to be flexible.
Good with me. What's the next week, if that's not doable?
June 8th.
June 8th?
And then we have a meeting on June 11th, just FYI.
We can do this additional business, but I'm actually away from the 8th to the 15th.
I'm not here on the 8th either.
Okay,
I'm gone for a week.
okay.
So maybe we could talk about a possible moving the meeting.
Sure. The days are getting longer.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Do you want to go,
In the evening?
at 6 o'clock, sidewalk?
Do that.
I work a lot. I usually don't get home before 8. But, I
Who's
could,
available on Memorial Day? I am. You're saying you're not, Ingrid?
I'm not.
You're Minslevin anyway, so this is Minslevin.
Not anymore.
Oh.
I didn't think so,
It still
yeah.
says Minslevin, no? No more. Okay,
I'm available that weekend,
yeah.
When did
especially on
that
that
change?
Saturday. On
I
the
didn't
Saturday.
think so.
You know the site, Ingrid.
Actually,
Oh, I know. I
Last
know.
time I subbed somebody and
Everything's-
it got, went sideways. I'm not available
I'm not
either.
available Memorial Day weekend.
okay.
Yeah, I can't confirm.
Jim, when
about
did
the
it
8th?
change? When did the law firm change? When did Mintz get?
They were involved through the,
I'm actually out on
Yeah.
9th.
up through the HAC hearing, right?
I think they didn't carry it through the HAC. They provided,
That's right.
they got all the documents together and then brought it to HAC and then. that was
So
it.
what's the timing on that?
I could confirm it. I don't know it off
Okay,
the
yeah,
top
I
of
just
my
want to
head.
confirm it.
But I don't
Yeah,
have
have
to
a
be there.
traumatic
I've been there so
experience
many
with that
times.
piece of-
So if the 8th is doable for other people, I can't be there, but I've been there so many times, I don't need to see it again.
I don't feel I need to after 3 trips up there.
But it is
It's
important to see the
engraved in my
site.
mind.
Yeah, it is.
Right, as it is in mine.
Oh, yes, you had an incident.
So
right.
Hornets.
Hans and I,
Yeah.
Was it
What's
was it
that?
Hornets?
Hans and I the only ones
Oh, those are
that
the
have
ones that
not
I'm
seen
allergic
it?
to.
Well, we need a quorum
If they're
Very
Hornets.
bad.
if it is going to be
We
a public
don't-
hearing.
That's true, but we don't need to have a public hearing. If you
Okay.
can, if you
Yeah,
can let
we can
them
do a
on the
site
site,
walk.
they
Yeah, that's
they
fine.
need to see it.
I'm not comfortable with this. It's too
What's that?
important. I'm not comfortable with that. It's too important. There's too much public scrutiny about this project. It's one of the first 40B, huge. There's a lot of public interest. I think we should do it as a public meeting. I think as many commissioners as possible should be there, even though you've been there before. I don't think we should just slide this by at all. It's really an important project for the town.
Thank you.
What about, and I know there's still an appeal going, right?
Yeah.
You've been waiting for appeals for a long time.
We just thought we'd,
And I salute you for doing that, to get the educational process going. But there's no, at this juncture, there's no real time pressure on you, is there? Because you're waiting for, the appeal?
No, I'd just like to get through the process. but,
Right.
No, I know after how many years? When we look at things
lot.
in 2014, it's a long time. Well, the next week, which would be the
The 15th,
15th?
15th
sure.
June. 15th June, everyone?
Can you do that, John? You'll be back on the 15th?
You know,
He's
don't
going to
know.
run right from the airplane.
Yeah.
Does it
I
have
probably
to
don't,
be
I probably
Saturday
don't,
morning?
Saturday to Saturday, yeah. No, it could be Sunday. Is
You could do Sunday.
that all right?
Excuse me?
Could we do Sunday,
Sunday's all right with me.
the 16th?
16 June?
It's Father's Day.
Oh,
So,
It's irrelevant to me.
Has that ever mattered?
I'll bring my clubs.
If any of you guys are getting pampered, I didn't want to interfere.
It's 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
no, I'd sleep in if I could.
Well, if we're gonna do Sunday, then we could do it early. We could do June 2nd instead.
how's that one?
I cannot make that day.
All right. Okay, we're spending a lot of time on the logistics of this. We're just trying to set up a meeting. What about a nighttime? What time does that get dark now, 7?
No, not on that side, not with mosquitoes and everything else. That doesn't make any sense.
Because of mosquitoes?
Yeah, and it's wet there.
And the
It's
bees?
very wet.
We got bees. We got poison ivy. We got,
Everything.
okay.
Hornets.
We
Yes.
have Greenbrier too, is that right?
Well, let's pick a date.
Once you get through it, it's fine.
Yeah.
We need to just kind of assign a date, and maybe everybody can't be there.
We can do 2 site walks.
So the 15's out?
No, I think we're
It
talking
it is
about.
for me. I'm going Saturday to Saturday, so
Oh,
I-
okay.
We could
that's
do
my
June
problem.
2nd if we're gonna do Sunday. I'm sorry, you said.
You can't do it.
And then we could push it into June some more. We could do the 23rd.
Good with me.
23rd's,
Good with me.
23rd is a
That's a
Sunday.
Sunday.
Sunday,
Yeah.
Sunday morning.
Oh, the
Sunday.
22nd?
Or the
Oh, it doesn't matter,
22nd.
Saturday or Sunday.
22nd's good.
22nd or 23rd are
I
okay.
could do either one, either one.
Let's
How
do
about you, Linda?
Saturday, the
Yep,
22nd?
22nd or 23rd is fine with me.
Good?
How does it works for you?
Paul?
22nd, good.
I can't be here, but I'll have somebody else from my partnership
Okay,
team. there.
June
Okay.
22nd.
Okay.
All right. All right, that's good. Now, we haven't been ignoring the public, because I know there are people that would like to make a comment or ask a question, but I want to make sure, I think logistically, if we target the 22nd, it'd be important to be there.
I think,
But we need to also set up what questions, we're going to have, like the replication areas, the limit of work areas. And if you can stake that, that would be very important to us.
If possible.
Yeah, to the extent you can do that. And then we need to open it up to see whether or not the abutters have particular questions or members of the public.
How are we going to define the scope?
Scope of what?
The third party, the independent engineer? I mean, we didn't really resolve that question.
No, we didn't, but we have to, the last time we did a consultant for us, and we don't refer them as peer review, because the statute refers to a consultant.
Consultant,
Okay.
yes.
But we do have to come up, we typically come up with 3 people, and, we understand cost is part of it.
I'm talking about in terms of determining scope and
of what's being reviewed. I think,
Well, with the 2 that we've identified so far, one is a hydrological component that we already
Yep,
asked.
and the structural.
And the structural part of it, whether the
Right.
footings are required, or you can drop this preform whatever onto the crushed stone. That would be a civil engineer?
yes, maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, so
Actually,
those are 2.
there are structural engineers. You might want a structural engineer.
Okay.
And this kind of, the reason I'm asking is, so we're clear on how we define that scope.
We could get a consultant to define the next consultant's scope.
Ouch. And then form a subcommittee.
Exactly. Sorry, but sometimes it's done that way.
Yeah, I know, but I think we can
Absolutely.
probably
I just want
drive
to
this
make sure
home.
the other commission members, we all concur on, what we're,
Oh, I agree. I agree with you. So people should weigh in. What do you think we need help on? We've already identified hydrology and this. One of the other things that we were originally concerned with was the proximity to at the time, it was a 25-foot. And can you go right up to the line? Because at one point, actually, at one point, the corner of a building was touching I thought it was right on the wetland line, but I think you've moved it
Yeah.
since then. You did move it back.
I mean, if you go back to the original, we had 3 buildings,
Yeah.
way back.
So I think that may be what I was thinking about, because I think you were right next to it, and we had a discussion about, well, how do you excavate for a foundation? You're right, you're already on the line.
Well, that still may be a question that we might want to ask, constructability.
Yes.
That's still.
that would be part of the scope
For me,
for-
that would be the third question. Constructability, absolutely. Tell us a construction sequence that works for this without getting too far into the wetland.
Stu, do you
Is
think
there a
that scope,
specific grading plan in here?
could that scope be one and the same? The constructability generally, and then the footing issue?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Steve, when you are referring to constructability, is that also referencing what you're calling the 2-foot
Yes.
Yeah, we can
on
certainly
either
throw it.
side?
How are you able to actually go vertical without going horizontal?
Yeah, 'cause
That's really the
I'm
question.
concerned about the conflicting professional opinions on that, from what I've
When
been
we
reading
did
in
that,
here and what
look
I'm
at
hearing
Terry
tonight.
College, it's more than 2 feet. You gotta get a machine in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and that, I think that goes, Arthur's point was that the machinery and, the excavation,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to
Tell
be
us.
using a lot more land, even if you could cut a line 2 feet away from where you're gonna drop your sidewall or footing or whatever you wanna call it. You're still gonna have to bring machinery in and, pull
Right,
the soil back.
basically, it's, you got an inch out, sit on it, inch out some more, sit on that, you're gonna go right across.
Are you using any plating on both sides as you're inching out or not?
Yes,
You are?
yes.
Okay,
From the
well,
beginning, yes.
it would be nice to see a small construction sequence, actually.
Yeah, how are you capturing or to ensure that
Exactly.
the contractor will adhere to that?
Right,
Um,
right. That's very helpful, I think, if we could see something like that.
Yeah, I think it's been submitted, so I think I could probably
Okay,
dig it up pretty
all
quick.
right. Yeah, construction sequence in
Again, I
those
apologize,
areas.
if it was a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
I wasn't here,
Yeah.
so.
All right, any other questions at this stage by the commissioner?
I have one.
Yes,
Did we decide on the 22nd?
Yes.
On 8 o'clock?
8 o'clock. And that's Saturday, right? That's
Yes.
Saturday, 22nd.
And
8 o'clock.
parking, where would you consider? parking?
7-Eleven. We still park there? Actually, you know.
DPW?
what?
Depends on how many
DPW,
people are coming.
You don't want to cross
Yeah.
that
that's a
7-Eleven at this
big
point.
street.
We probably meet.
Yeah,
at
we can
DPW.
work with the DPW
Yeah.
and park there.
Yes.
Walk in from that side, probably easier.
I think so.
That's
there
true,
a
it's so
specific-
busy nowadays, you don't want to be crossing it.
Is there a
No,
specific,
you'll be up to your
Randolph, yeah.
knees, you know? You can cross it in August without too much trouble.
grading plan? Is there a specific grading plan?
A specific grading plan?
Yes.
Yes.
Which plan sheet is it?
See it, there's a little bit of grading on this plan right here, up on the,
Is it?
That's
This
sheet
one?
5.
Sheet 5. I'm looking for it.
I've got your 6 here.
Ah, that might,
that's,
You need any others, John?
No, is that yours, Arthur?
Yeah.
and that just helps me to understand better how you define limit of work, so I mean, kind of, fell. I apologize.
this is the old sheet 5 that's up on the board, right there. So put on your list to send me the.
That was my
copy.
only thing.
All right, good.
I will.
Any other questions? Other abutters or members of the public that would like to come forward, just use a microphone, identify yourself and ask anything you want, or make comments.
Do you mind? I didn't want to steal the oxygen out of the room. Raise my hand first.
Just use that mic in front of you there, okay?
will, thank
Thanks.
My name is Dorsey Stone, Stone. My wife and I recently purchased the abutting property located at 294 Highland Street. It's residential. You seem to know every single inch of this town, so it used to be Joe and Ann Lombardi's, if you know who they are. But it's 2.2 acres, and it probably abuts about a quarter of this proposed monstrosity. I don't use colorful language in that fashion. I'm impressed with the way that this commission is so detail-oriented, has such a wonderful, amazing depth of knowledge about this town, and that this project can go forward. I don't know the developer. You could be a wonderful person. It just doesn't feel right to build 90 units in the wetlands to me. That might be ancient history now, that you guys have been talking about this since 2014, but I just, it's my young children see the wildlife there, and I think you used the phrase, it doesn't leave room to preserve anything. I typed that into my phone when you said it.
It's true.
I'm sorry. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other abutters or members of the public? I didn't mean to restrict it. Yes, sir.
I guess my only question would be is...
Can you use the mic?
Oh, Yeah, Ryan Villard, I live at 688 Randolph Ave. I was just wondering if the abutting neighborhood would be allowed to go on this little
Yes,
nature hike?
it's a public meeting unless it's an issue from Paul.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Okay, would there be a way to get another one of those notices that was mailed to the house for the other neighbors that weren't at this meeting? Or is there another way?
Generally not, and they've actually re-noticed this, and it was a courtesy, and I appreciate that.
thank you
So
very
the
much.
green cards went out again. Typically, you only do it the first time you file the notice of intent.
Okay.
But I think it was an appropriate thing to do because it was, 2014
Mm-hmm.
when it was first filed, so they did it again. So I'm presuming you got...
Yes, to the
The
house,
public
yes.
agenda will be published on the Conservation Commission
Okay.
webpage.
It's on the Milton website.
Okay.
But
Sounds good.
generally, once those green cards are returned, there's not another official formal notification.
Okay.
So you have to follow it on the website, but it's there.
I'll look it up. Thank you.
All right? But it is open, and, we should probably figure out, I think it's the safest place for everybody, if there are people coming in that don't live right where you do, we'll probably park in the DPW yard and try to make access to the property. Do they have is there a gate there? Do you know, Paul?
There's no gate, there's actually
There's
like
no gate, but there's
The fence is falling
no
down.
fence either.
You got it.
Oh, really?
Been
Okay, I
there.
have not been back there.
Yeah, I don't think it's changed much.
No. All right, so we'll meet in the DPW yard.
Okay.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Hey, good evening.
Rich Shea. I'm on a butter, 246 Highland Street, town meeting member. I've been involved as little as I can, but I have been involved with the gentleman. They know me by sight. They're very polite, etc. But I would hope that the Conservation Commission toe the line, abide by the rules, and not give out any breaks, because I really don't think that these people have demonstrated anything that shows any interest in benefit of the town. None at all. They're going to put probably 300 new students into our system, which is going to cost the town a tremendous amount of money, let alone probably have to build a new school. So I don't think that they really care. They got their numbers, they're 90. Originally, they inferred that it's a negotiating number, but over the years, it hasn't been. It hasn't been negotiated at all like that. So I really think that the commission should be strict, protect the abutters, protect the people, especially down on Randolph Ave. That is going to be a horror for those people, no question about it. But I just don't think they've showed any interest in the town. I don't think they've been willing to work with the town. They're willing to spend as much money as need be to get what they want. So you have to obey the rules. I understand that, but I don't think that the commission should bend because they have shown no interest in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to ask a question, make a comment, suggestions? Hearing none, is there anything more from the commissioners or anything you would like to say?
No, I think we're good.
All right, then with the assent, we will continue this until June 22nd, 8 a.m. DPW yard.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you both.
Thank you.
And, Mr. Chairman, we may have other visits on the 22nd of June coming from the June meeting. So Maybe.
Oh, yes, oh, for sure, yes.
So just be aware of that.
That sounds good.
That would make sense. Afterwards, not concerning you.
Oh, okay.
Other meetings, other locations. That's all, coming from the June meeting, which will probably be moved to the 18th. He's away 8th through the 15th.
Can we go backwards on the agenda? We've got to go back to 50 Summer Street now?
Yes, 50 Summer Street.
Yes, oh.
Please. You came in just 10 minutes late, so please. I get my notes off the TVs, by the way. I get my notes off the TV. I'm not typing them.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome. Do you have some plans, and just for the public's benefit, this is an enforcement order, and we had asked the homeowner to propose some landscaping changes?
Who'd I, only have one.
Oh, that's fine.
You want to just pass it down, or?
Sure.
Okay. And then
You could
these
just
are.
maybe describe what it is.
Introduce yourself, first of all.
My name is Wei Ing. Legal man.
May, yeah.
My name is Chung Tae Yi.
Good evening, thank
And
you.
they're the owner for 50 Sumner Street.
Yes.
And who are you, ma'am, and what are you doing?
I'm just helping them translate. I'm actually their relative.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm not the
Very
owner.
nice of you.
But they do have the plans, pretty much what you guys have requested them to do.
And who put the plans together?
It's put together.
By
with-
Marty Sonbolian, P.E. So there's a P.E. been involved here. He's got a locust plan, and then he's got stone posts, how it goes in the ground.
Yep.
Okay. He shows
Inside.
the property lines here with a north arrow and some plantings along the back of the property line, and then some other plantings.
Yes, so with the
So
line
the-
is it'd be the emerald green.
Emerald green.
Inside, along the property line.
Yes, right along the property line, inside, emerald green arborvitaes, and there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 21?
Yes.
Is that correct? 21 arborvitaes
Yes.
along the property line. And then there are other plantings along in the conservation property as well. And they are obviously 3 different, they're
Yes.
not on the,
Shrubs.
they're shrubs.
They are, they are.
Oh, very good, okay, so there's witch hazel,
Yes.
mountain holly, alternate leaf dogwood, and alternate leaf dogwood, right, the 3. Okay, there's the bound. And there are, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17,
22.
20, 19, and 22.
This all sounds fine. But
22
let's do it in-
shrubs.
Let's do it in the usual course of business and not be kind of lackadaisical. We need a copy of this.
Yes.
We need a copy of it before the next meeting. That's the way it's always done. So
Oh,
just let them know. So you can just give that to Mr. Ivis.
okay.
Possibly, can you make copies for us or,
Yes, we can get copies,
okay.
done.
And then even just email them to us so we can see them beforehand, Steve, to be a
Yes,
little accommodating here.
yes.
What's the, is there a grading component to that?
There's no grading on the plan.
All right, because one of the issues was outside of the property line, there was an issue as to where the drainage pipe daylights.
Yes, the drainage pipe daylights is shown on the plan.
Okay.
It's shown on the plan, but there's no grading next to it.
There's got to be some kind of mechanism for holding those banks? Because that was, remember, it was buried.
I do.
But that's,
and-
is that something we were supposed to look into?
That's
Those
actually
I'd
the
never heard of,
town's-
it's not,
Actually,
I know, but they buried it. That was the problem.
they need, 佢話你埋咗嗰啲 pipe 係咪你埋嘅？你冇埋啊？ They didn't bury the pipe though.
Well,
the
it got
man who put the
covered.
design together, could he come in and talk to us and explain this particular plan?
佢塞咗佢啲人去挖咗佢啊，本來啲泥冚住晒嘅冇嘅。
你等陣先。So you want this person to come in and explain the
Yes,
plans?
at the next meeting. And then we could answer all the questions and we could possibly okay everything at that point. But we need to see this plan beforehand so we can look at it. You know, we can't do it right now.
Yeah, we
Would
usually
you like to
review
take a
it
look?
ahead of the
How many
meeting.
Yeah,
days, is it 10 days?
I would, 'cause
佢話
that,
你一早要遞俾佢。
2 weeks, but here, take a, you should look at it maybe a little closer. See, if you wanted, if you want some
佢一定要呢
topo
個
on
人
the
入嚟。
plan. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah, actually,
One-
topo would be good.
one of my concerns is that
想同我解釋下。
等陣先。
where the drainage pipe was buried by somebody,
Right.
it backed up into the neighbor's house, because the water backed up and flooded the basement. That's across the street. So the town went out and dug that out. So there's the area where the pipe is now visible, that, the town sent a backhoe in, or maybe men with shovels, I don't know, but they dug it out and opened it up, and that allowed the water to flow. So what you see there now, it is actually flowing. But it also looks terrible, and it looks like it's going to erode because it needs some kind of probably riprap, which is just a bunch of stones, to
So as
hold
the
that
water
bank.
comes through, it's going to push the dirt
Okay.
out. And so what he's saying is that there needs to be some material that stabilizes that to prevent it from washing that side slope out.
Wouldn't that be the town responsibility?
Well, it would have been, but for the fact that it was, the elevation in that area beyond where the property line is, that was changed. And we presume by the homeowner, because the grass went all the way back and on a level playing field, so to speak. It just went back, actually, it's on our land. It's owned by the Conservation Commission. So the backyard was extended into our land, which is one issue. The other issue is that it was leveled, and in leveling it, it buried the pipe. And when the pipe was buried, it backed up. Now, I wasn't there, I didn't see, I don't know who did it, but it appears to us that when the land was extended back towards the wetlands and towards, there's a brook back there, that it was done all at the same time, because it looked like one expanse of grass.
Okay, let me explain to them. 佢話咧嗰個 pipe 咧，你哋擺咗啲泥整平咗，搞到嗰度生咗啲草，咁然後咧就整到即係塞咗人哋個渠，塞咗個渠。咁然後之後咧，佢哋上次嚟咧就掘翻出嚟，咁掘翻出嚟之後咧，而家嗰度咧就嗰個 pipe 咧就要整翻啲，要擺翻啲嘢落去，整翻好佢。咁我睇個樣好似係想要我哋負責去整。
喂，
我哋冇整
你話嗰條渠幾10年，我哋冇見過有渠。
但你有冇擺個嘢落去？有冇擺啲
冇啊。
No, they did not put the soil on top. When they bought the property,
Okay,
they
just-
could never.
go
When
ahead.
they bought the property, they couldn't even see the pipe. It was there. We could never see the pipe, but it was there. And then the last time when there was an issue, somebody from the town came out and dug
Dug it out, yes.
Yes,
We
dug it out.
remember that.
Yeah, and now you can see it. But
Yes.
before, you can never see the pipe. It was always been covered with something.
Little bit, they will have the pie, you know.
And how long have you lived there?
你幾時住咗幾耐啊
14年10月份。
？2014.
2014.
Yes.
Was the pipe buried when the property was purchased in
Yeah.
2014?
2014年你買嗰時，你睇唔到個 pipe 㗎。
冇㗎，冇。
When they bought it in 2014, the pipe, they can't see the pipe, it was buried. It was buried already. And then when that incident happened, that's how they knew that there was an issue with the pipe. And then they dug it out, somebody came and dug it out from the town. So, I mean, that was never, when we had the walkthrough, that was never a request. I don't remember having a conversation about the pipe.
So the irrigation system that was installed,
I mean,
Did
that
you
was, we
install
saw
that?
that.
Yeah, the irrigation system wasn't installed, it was.
so did they install the irrigation system?
Yes, they did, they installed
Okay.
irrigation system.
聲明你講，嗱我哋14年買，你成18年嗰時先話嗰條派塞咗，你成幾年而家係塞咗嗰啲水去咗邊度啫？
Yeah, they bought it in 2014, and I think the incident happened in 2018. And,
When was the irrigation system
你
installed?
幾時擺嗰個
14年咯，14年
嗰個噴水嗰啲時候
一都係住嗰時擺嘅啦，14年。
Around 2014.
Yeah.
So after you.
你同
Yeah, after.
呢度講嗰個頭係喺個頭嗰個佢個渠位，我哋根本冇擺嘢落
係啊我哋冇擺
去嘅，喺個頭嗰度。
The irrigation system was not, it's not near the pipe.
No.
Yeah, we were there.
There's a part of it that is.
It was right next to it.
It was right next to it?
Yeah.
Yes, we all sat around and looked at it.
Yes, that's true.
So
It
the,
was right
the
next to it.
irrigation, that's why I'm asking specifically, is because the lines, there might not be a head, a sprayer there, but there's a line, a pipe that's running along there that got exposed during their, while they were
Yeah,
taking.
that may be
下
explained.
邊噶嘛，
right there
嗰
right
個
now.
嗰個派床都唔係好深啦，佢球喺下邊，
但
係真係睇唔到㗎。我哋真
Another
係睇
question,
唔到
if I
佢
may.
房都冇理由要我哋整嘅我。
At the time that the house was purchased in 2014, was that entire backyard filled in and grassed?
Was that,
Or was it done after the purchase?
佢話你買嗰陣時嗰啲草係邊個？即係你係咪成個丫都係啲草係你擺落去㗎？
係
嚇？Yeah, they put in the grass, yes. They
Yeah.
did the seeds, yes.
They seeded it?
Yes, they
Did
seeded
they
it.
fill it?
你有冇擺
Bring
嗰
in
啲
dirt.
泥去用啲泥去 fill 佢有冇？
冇嘅，唔
No,
需
just
要
just the seeds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
就咁撒落去啫嘛，你話。
yeah.
what was there before?
之
Was
前
it,
係咩嚟
was it trees or was it?
咪又係啲泥地咁咯。
？Before it's always also grass, but it's just
啲藍
but it just doesn't look pretty, so they had the
Yeah,
people come
yeah.
in and do the seeds. for
To
them.
clean it up.
Yeah, to clean it up, exactly.
係啦，清潔咗之後就撒啲種啫，冇做又冇。
But somebody had to put the irrigation pipes
Yeah, someone had to
under,
trench that stuff
under
in.
the
Yes, and
surface of the
你話個
dirt.
irrigation 係幾尺？一尺
唔。係嗰個係前邊啫嘛，個頭喺嗰個渠口，個渠口好遠，個頭響個渠呢邊嘅。
幾佢哋話個個都好近喎。Do you
No,
remember how
起碼
close
10
it is from the
你起碼
pipe?
10
He said it's she said it's around 10 feet.
Yeah.
How far did you guys
2
see?
feet?
2 feet,
Yeah, it was,
this
it
much.
was right on.
兩尺嘅喎。
Guys, I saw it, I saw that
係咪兩個
the
渠口
pipe may
先
still be there.
係個
佢有兩尺
係嗰個兩尺。
咁就算係都可能係個渠口好學落咯，我哋喺之前係好高咯。個渠口係呢度噶嘛，咁落，但係我哋床係淺啲噶嘛，
Yeah,
佢只咁高，床咁高㗎嘛，
4 and
床
5
咁深
feet.
到嘅啫嘛。
4 or 5 feet
下
what?
邊
Of the irrigation system, the depth of it, it's about 4 feet. That's what
佢
you're
哋真係
saying.
唔，我哋真
4
係
feet
睇唔到啊！
入4尺咁
It's
深。
18 inches.
係啊，佢
Yeah,
嗰
it
度
wouldn't be 4 feet.
佢
It
嗰
would
個
be, yeah, it would be a foot and a half.
佢腳你而家可以睇咯，嘢我有上去睇啫，但係真係嗰啲泥冇咁深㗎。
Irrigation, so-
So I would ask again that we get copies of this
Yeah.
before the next meeting.
Okay.
And that the man who helped you out to draw that he could come in and talk to us as well about what he's seen, what he's proposing to fix the situation. And then we can resolve it at the next meeting.
Yeah,
But in June, it may be too late to plant, so the planting would have to be done, you think?
So with all the
June
rain,
is-
I think we could still
yeah,
plant.
June's all right.
Okay.
All this
So
rain.
this is.
This is very good. This is very
Yeah,
good.
We're okay with this.
The plantings, we're very good with the
But do
planting.
we have to bring this person in to explain?
Yes, it
Because-
would make a lot of sense.
Yes.
But what's he gonna
But what
say?
he's gonna present,
What's he gonna say differently than what's here? Because I'm more,
I
hang
don't
on,
know what's there.
are you happy with the dogwood, the plantings?
The plants.
The arborvitae's
The
are
list.
21?
I'm happy
selection,
getting
yeah.
something at the last minute to have to decide at 20 minutes of 10.
No, that's different. What I'm concerned with is, do they need to go through the expense of having the person come in to say, just gonna read this to us?
We only received that 2 or 3 days ago.
I would
I'm
assume the
sorry.
man who drew this has
We
seen.
welcome you, but you have to identify yourself and come forward.
Has seen the backyard and might have a sense, more specifically, of where things, in fact, the pipes are, that he can also talk to these issues. So there's less controversy about it.
And he might be able to talk to the stabilization issue with regard to what happens downstream of the.
As the water continues to flow. So again,
Exactly.
going
Do we
back
want
to the original.
topology on there?
What's that?
Sorry, do we want topology on there? What do you
Topography.
guys think?
Do you want a what on it?
Topology?
I don't think we need a topographic survey. I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
I think it's just a level of confidence, since the person that drew this is a civil engineer. Level of confidence that the area where that pipe is, again, not knowing the full semantics of how, the sequence of when it got filled, but whether or not it's stable or if any additional action needs to occur.
We don't want it to erode anymore. Do you know what erosion means?
Yes.
Okay, so
You
we
talk about
don't.
the pipe, right?
Yeah,
The
where the
area
that
around
comes
the
out.
pipe.
That area
And the-
floods. I bet
and
it's
the-
wet right now.
And the swale or the trench near the pipe, we want that to be stable, so it's growing rather than eroding down in.
Yeah, it's
That's
gonna-
our
it'll
biggest
wash away the-
concern
The
right
soil
now.
being washed into the wetland.
Exactly, thank you.
Okay.
Arthur.
And can we also find out, I don't know how you seal off an irrigation system, but what we saw was damaged pipe. So I assume that somebody had to come in and kind of cut it off.
Yep, they can cut it off, yeah.
Yeah.
They remove that, yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise you're just going to be pouring
Irrigating-
water into the.
Irrigating the Conservation Commission property. Sorry, don't mean to laugh about
So
that. but,
somebody
I mean,
is gonna
you wanna
have to
cut off the
take care of
irrigation
that.
system So it
Okay.
stops at your property line.
佢而家個意思咧就係話，佢唔想你哋啲水好似你而家嗰個噴水嗰個咯，要拆咗佢。
係啊，我哋會拆啦，我哋 move 啦。
Yeah, they have plans to move it already.
move 啦，已經
Back
我
to
哋睇
back
過
to
㗎
his own property line,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So they have
Okay.
that plan
Yeah.
already.
Okay, good.
And 同埋佢話佢驚你哋啲水，佢話驚佢哋一味咁樣嗰個批係咁樣生鏽喎。咁生鏽佢即係佢意思，
邊個生手啊？
即係佢嗰個大渠啊。
係啊
佢驚佢一味係咁生鏽，
咁唔關我
影響
事㗎。
佢而家講到係關你事啊嘛。
點解啊？
所以因為佢話你整嗰啲嘢喺嗰度，影響咗佢。
你同佢講嗰度咧，幾十年從來冇人行過，冇人去睇嗰啲嘢。
係啊，
從來冇人去清潔
佢哋成10幾年佢都唔知道佢有條渠嘅。
同佢講幾十年從來冇去清潔嗰
He
啲
said
嘢。
that that pipe's been there for many years,
幾十
and
年
you
都冇
guys
人
have
去喐過
never really sent anybody to
嗰度好似個垃圾
maintain
缸
it.
咁㗎。
And it
你
used, I mean,
睇下
It was
it's
because it was buried. We didn't know it was there.
no. Even before he purchased it, it's always
Now,
been
你話睇-
it's
now,
just
你睇
always been there. Like no one ever maintains it. Like no one goes in there and clean all the branches off or
係啊
anything
從來
like
冇
that.
人去
So-
take care 嗰度，你話。
According to the abutter on
你
the
幾十
other
年
side,
你話啲人
he did not start to have flooding problems until there were modifications to that area.
Right. So the man on the other side of the road didn't have any problems until there were modifications made to that side somehow. So whatever modifications were made, maybe working with the irrigation system or something, maybe they did something to
causing the
further
water to go.
block up the pipe. We don't know.
佢話佢
We
之
don't
前
know.
未試過個 base
我 OK 嗱，
你
我
先
你講講咩啊？佢咧，我嗰時咧去佢屋企度
Yeah.，
咁咧佢嗰個
Democracy
咧咁斜咗落
in
去
action.。
咁我你點解你整條呢啲
係幾時嘅事啊？
啱啱
大約係好似2年啊，2年。
即係未發生之前。
係16年嗰時
好似
大概
大約係15年咁上下度。佢話啲水多得滯咧，佢
會入
整咗個
basement
派
㗎
入咗個 basement 度啦，所以佢整個派俾個泵
抽水咯
就泵咗出邊。
係啊
He has a pump in his basement.
Yes, he
And
said.
he
he's-
always had problem in the basement because of the way that it was level.
Yeah.
Even
It's-
before
it's
this
a-
incident.
He is low, but
Yeah.
This
way he go to the
But
basement.
it's not
I
that he never
understand
had
that-
problem with
that
the
he doesn't
basement. He's
have-
always had problem.
it's not that, he doesn't have recourse about, whatever flooding situation in his house, I think, but as the Conservation Commission, we want to make sure that if the water needs to be flowing in the direction towards the wetland, that we ensure that it does that
Exactly.
and doesn't inadvertently continue to cause a problem for the neighbor on the other side.
No, we understand that, but,
And
but
so-
for him to say that he never had problem with water in his basement, that was the first time, that's not true. Because he was in his house. He has a
Okay.
sump pump
Well-
in the property, and he got water in the basement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Many times prior to
Thank you.
that.
We did not know
So
that.
Yeah.
was,
I have that
that was not the
information.
right
This was
control
just what we were
statement.
told.
Yeah, he even told him that because his house was too low.
Yeah, it is low.
And he gets water in the
Yeah.
basement.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
We did not know that
We were not
fact.
aware.
Okay, thank you for that.
But again, that's the, we're just trying to make sure that the water continues to go where it's supposed to, that we don't back it up,
Right.
clog that pipe.
Yeah. The pipe remains open.
Hey,
Yeah.
no.
So can we ask you to bring this fellow back? And I'm looking at a calendar here. Scheduled right now, it's on for the 11th, our meeting is the 11th.
Yes.
But if that's the week I'm gone, I'm wondering, is it possible to move the meeting to the 18th, which is a week from Tuesday?
係啊
I'm
解
fine
釋
with
晒
that.
啲嘢俾佢聽，
Members?
連埋嗰啲批會唔會有問題
Yeah, I'm fine with that too.
佢想見呢個畫。
Well, if we can do it, you still have to check with the town hall to make sure that
Right,
the room is.
exactly. In fact, in your little packet tonight of other additional materials,
劉生
there's another change in September as well. It's been moved 1 week further down into
Further down, okay.
September. Okay, just to let you know.
All right,
But June 18th is fine with me, John, if
okay, that's
it
good.
is with other people.
It's okay with me too.
Yeah, I think so.
June 18th instead of June 11th.
That's correct.
Is that possible? Yeah, I just want to be able to tell them if we can move it, we can tell them right now.
So September should be the
No, that's correct.
17th is correct.
17th is correct. It's September. And June 18th. Is that okay with you, Arthur?
And checking.
佢而
Okay.
家根本講嚟講去就係
Unfortunately, I have conflict on the 18th.
你而家係塞2年都塞咗啦。
We can, Kathy can arrange it. We'll have to, maybe we can reach out to them and tell them, sure. Kathy can deal with, because it depends on, when we can get the room. So she has to, Kathy Bowen has to check with town hall anyway. So she can circulate a,
What
an
about,
email.
do you ever go to the 19th? Would you go to the next day or something?
喂嗰啲水批
For example, are you available then?
佢而家話佢啫嘛。係啊，同埋你要，同埋咧你嗰個
I would be as
嗰個
well.
嗰個噴水嗰個咧會拆咧，你或者叫畫加埋。
Ran out of battery.
加埋落去啊！就寫明話我哋會呢個，等你知道你係寫邊度。咁但係佢而家話條派，咁到時下一次嚟嗰時，又話你條派冇畫上嚟，
No backups.
條批畫咗喺度。
How do you work that
條
thing?
批畫
We use
咗。
Moodle.
What app does that run?
佢一就係想睇下嗰條批有冇影
Pretty
響，
tough for me,
點
but
樣可
what
以
about,
點樣可以處理嗰
I
條
mean,
批。
following Tuesday?
第二啲嘢佢冇問題啊，講嚟講
The 25th? It's okay, it's getting, we're getting close to July, but it's fine with me.
Fine with me.
Are we worried about a quorum? Is that what's happening? If I don't
Yes.
show up, we won't have a quorum?
Oh, we're trying to get as many people, we'll have a quorm.
I
We're trying to
can
get
do
as
the
many people
25th
as
as
possible.
well, so.
It's better if we're all together.
I would prefer to be here, but yeah.
Okay, so the 25th, the
June
25th?
25th?
Hold on.
25th?
25th is fine with me.
Fine.
All right. So we're going to move the meeting to the 25th.
你自己根本幾十年冇
So
知
that
自己嘅嘢，你
the
而家
next
喺度
meeting
睇
is going to be June 25th. And remember, we've got a site walk on the 18th, right? But the official meeting
Actually, the sidewalk
is
is,
this.
係咯，咪有
20
下次你有個另一個
I just wrote it down,
I wrote it down too. Hang on a second.
Yeah,
It's
that's-
22nd.
22nd.
Sidewalk is at the 22nd. That's fine.
And so then this would be the 25th. All right.
Okay,
So
are we
you good with
settled
that?
for the 25th?
John, can
Yes.
I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Can we give them the alternative of doing this at this day of the sidewalk or on
That-
any
that-
day, or would that be too much?
I think it wouldn't be too much for us, but it's going to be a little chaotic trooping through the woods.
And I have a feeling there's
Okay.
going to be a number of abutters there.
Yes.
I think your schedule
Yeah.
is going to be very difficult.
Right.
So I would put in your book, an hour and a half plus
Yes,
for that day.
correct.
Oh, for Randolph Avenue?
Yes,
Exactly.
Oh, no question.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so it'll be Tuesday, the 25th of June.
Okay.
And see if you can get this fellow whose name I don't know, but I see the stamp up there.
Yeah.
If he could come in, but one of the issues is going to be how you're going to cap. I understand your position on who filled it and who didn't fill it, but
Or whether the pipe is stable at this point.
whether whether that area is stable and will not continue to erode, and then what are you going to do with the irrigation? Because if you turn it on, maybe you already have, and the pipe that we saw was broken. Because I think the backhoe had probably dug it up when they were trying to uncover the pipe.
Try to find
It
it.
looked like it was damaged.
Yeah.
So if you turn your irrigation system on, you might be losing water. So you should
Yeah,
be careful of
we
that.
talked about that to
Yeah,
bring it
he's
back.
gonna move everything back. Yeah,
你
so
講我
irrigation.
我 move 5尺咯。
Yeah, he's gonna go,
離
he can
開
go
中
back,
間
5 feet.
he can go back by 5 feet, in his property line, he can do that. Yeah, but as far as the pipe, I mean, what do you want them to do with the pipe? We're still kind of
I
confused.
think ultimately, it may end up, since it is on town property, we're gonna have to, and not just town property, conservation property. I mean, the responsibility for repairing it, is something we'll have to look at. But I think at a minimum, we want a determination of whether it's stable.
No.
Or whether it's gonna, is there potential for that slope to wash out? For that slope to get worse, since it's been excavated and exposed? So I'm not sure where we're gonna end up on it and what the fix will be, but I think we at least need an opinion on the condition.
Is the-
And
I agree.
Is the pipe on conservation property?
Yes,
it is.
it is. But the irrigation pipes were on conservation
Right.
property.
Yeah, so
And somebody put dirt over the top of the pipes.
Right, I
So,
understand.
Is that
I have no trouble
gentleman
with
available in the area, do you
alleviating
know? Does he live close by?
irrigation pipes
or
are still on the line, but if the outflow pipe,
Close by, or is he in California somewhere?
soil erosion is in conservation property.
Good, okay.
I'm hoping he
That
can
our
be here on the
responsibility?
20th.
says
would be,
Peabody, Mass.
other than
on
the
it.
fact,
Okay, thank you.
if
Okay.
they filled it in, they gotta take it out
Thanks.
and repair it. But they say they didn't fill it in, but
Hadn't-
somebody
hadn't.
put dirt over the top of the
But it's not
irrigation
big out,
dugout,
right, by the town.
right,
It should be corners.
which is the town's responsibility to open up the drainage. So I'm just,
It's
I don't
also
know
the
if we
town's
can-
responsibility to make sure that the right riprap is in there.
well, it seemed to be functioning before. And then something happened and it's
We
not.
don't know the degree of functionality.
I just know
Yeah,
what the
that's
guy
good.
told us. I know what they
Well,
told
that's
us
one
as well.
person
Very
too.
good.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah.
That is true.
Mind if I
But if we
take
get the
these?
opinion, then
Yes.
maybe we can, then we make a decision at that point, and maybe it is on the town.
Yes.
Are the irrigation heads indicated on the plan?
No, they're
no.
not.
They're not. Is it gonna be the same contractor?
Yes, yeah,
Would
we
it be possible that?
add it in the plans,
Yes?
yes, that's
Not a
what I
big
just
deal.
told them to do, yeah.
Great.
咁你加埋嗰啲
Okay.
yeah, okay, yeah, we can add that into the plan.
Thank you, that would be very helpful.
Okay, I'll tell you what,
I don't like the idea of some external engineer.
佢主
and I
要
won't
咧
need a
就係想你
copy of that, but let me give
但係嗰
them
啲人係
cards
住嗰啲已
so
經
they
係一個
can
大嘅問題啦。
digitally
我最大嘅
copy
問題
me.
就係你嗰啲噴水
So
嗰啲。
you weren't around at the time, but remember when we,
Here's
you
a
wouldn't
card.
remember, we caught Buddy
and
Thomas
ask the gentleman when he puts the
on our
irrigation
land.
Oh, yeah.
He
I was up
planted
there.
and grew them.
to have a digital copy.
Honey, what are you doing? So yeah, we had him take them out.
哦，OK，你加完之後 send 嚟
Right, our land.
Okay, how's that?
And they have to remediate the area, what I'm talking about is the post-remediation.
我想佢過嚟
Yeah.
解釋啊，咁
There's
佢想
no
過嚟解釋
riprap
嗰個
before,
點
but
樣
if we're gonna
辦
have riprap in there,
即係點樣辦？即係點
That's
樣
on
要
us.
做嘅？
We have some other additional business.
All right, so we're on for the 25th of
25th.
June. Thank you very much.
分析嘅，喂，你佢講啊嗱，佢嗰條渠喺嗰邊啦，我哋呢批咧，我移翻5尺過呢邊，乜嘢都冇影響到佢。
我啲水唔會再
因為咧，
噴落佢嗰邊㗎啦，已經。
唔知佢得唔得閒去做？
唔係喎，
佢又係咩事咁？
你嗰啲已經係唔係我哋嘅問題嚟㗎嘛？已經。
我知道
我。哋移咗翻過嚟呢邊。
So if we just
水唔
submit
會
a
再
new
噴過去
plan
㗎嘛。
with moving
Yeah,
the
there's a water
irrigation
that goes over
system,
there.
like, indicating that we're moving the irrigation system by 5 feet in his property line.
Yes.
You still want the engineer to be here. to,
但係
like,
啲水唔
I mean,
會再去嗰邊㗎啦，噴
yeah,
過
I
嚟
mean, the water, the water is not
即
gonna
係
be going
唔會
into
可
your
變㗎啦，你
pipe.
同佢講啊。
So is that something, you still want him to bring an engineer? It's just, it's a later meeting. I can't we can't guarantee that he could be here. I mean, we could try. I mean, what is the alternative if that does not work?
Well, the alternative would be to submit a plan in time for us to look at it.
Right,
一
right.
定唔
And
會
we,
再影響。
yeah, we can do that, and we could definitely include the irrigation system being
2 weeks,
moved.
2 weeks before the meeting.
2 weeks before, well, we can do that.
Yeah,
2 weeks
no
before
problem,
the
yeah.
meeting.
Good with that? I'm good with that.
Fine.
Okay, all right. So
And
we'll
I may
look at-
want to have a chat with the engineer. just
Yes,
off the
yes.
line
actually
as
gonna
well.
Why don't we give
Would
you
that
the
be the
number?
right thing to do?
Yes, that'd be good.
I think that'd be the right thing to do as well.
So-
In addition to the plan, I would
Yes.
like to have a chat with the engineer.
Thank you,
Perfect.
Steve.
And ask those kinds of questions. Stability of the bank,
Thank you.
downstream of the pipe. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay,
Good.
perfect, okay.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
And we'll include the engineer's contact when we send you the revised plans.
Oh, I have his phone number, but
Oh, okay, then you can call it.
but I can
Okay.
call, I can call him.
Okay, sounds
Sure.
good. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You too.
I think that'd be the most expedient, Father.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
All right, thank you very much for coming in, and thank you for translating as well.
Additional business.
We have a few things. I have a list. Do you have anything on your additional business agenda?
No.
Okay, the first thing is, we got a notice from VHB for the Boston Gas Company, exempt utility maintenance. You saw that?
I did.
Perhaps? 2 locations, one in the gas line pipeline, and one at the, gas pipeline, and I'll tell you where it is, along the Milton-Dorchester line, with an existing right-of-way at the crossing of the Neponset River, adjacent to the Southeast Expressway. So that's the area we're at 90 California. It's probably between 90 California, was it, or 90 Florida? 90
Well, it's
Florida?
down by the bike path, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes,
to
it
the end
is.
of the bike path, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, exactly, and the expressway. And then the other one is at the take station, you know well. Okay, that's number one,
That's on Randolph Avenue.
off of Randolph Avenue, yes,
Up off the
exactly.
dump, the old dump.
Yes, exactly, okay. You saw the email from Mr. O'Connell at 131 Elliott, 0 Central?
Mr.
Mr. Conley.
I'm sorry,
Connolly, yeah.
Connolly,
Yes.
forgive me.
He's rather well-known.
Yes, you saw that email?
Yes.
And for the folks on TV, we should, I thought I had a copy here,
I can read it.
yes, please do.
This is a letter from Steve Conley.
Yeah.
This is Henry's Plant project. And it says, this is to Kathy Bowen. It says, "Hi Kathy, the purpose of this email is to keep the Conservation Commission updated regarding the remediation of the site. The next step is to perform an assessment/subsurface investigation. We're going to start this process on May 20th, 2019. At the same time, we are going to perform the necessary geotech work for the foundation design of the building. The drilling site work should be completed by May 24th, 2019. Once we have the assessment report for the site completed, we will forward it to the commission. If the commission has any questions, feel free to contact the LSP, Chris Buchanan. He is CC'd with this email. Regards, Steve Conley." Now, the only concern I have is that I'm not sure what the geotech work, if that's preliminary to the foundation work, that's one thing, but to my knowledge, there's no foundation permit that's been issued by the building commissioner.
I haven't heard of one either.
No, I don't, so they can't begin, they can do the site assessment work.
Exactly.
He says it's necessary geotech work for the foundation design.
Right.
So
of the
that would be the
building.
structural, yeah, to do the structural.
Which the building department might want before it.
Oh, they definitely will want it, but the agreement was that the foundation permit, and when I say the agreement, this is between the Conservation Commission
Right.
and the town engineer and the building department, was that we wanted to take care of the remediation first, before the foundation permit was issued.
Correct.
So,
So, yeah, whether that subsurface investigation, I think he's taking a certain level of risk on the remaining subsurface investigation, whether that comes up with anything additional or not.
correct. But would you just make sure you coordinate this with
I had a
the building
chat
commissioner?
with, oh, yes, I did have a chat with Mr. Buchanan, last week sometime, late last week, who told me exactly the same dates and the same details.
Okay,
So they're at least in concordance among themselves.
that's good.
Yes, that's always good.
I just want to make sure that, there's no issue with the foundation permit.
Yes, so I should have a chat with Mr. Prondak, right?
Yes.
Okay. Also on the list is, we should be expecting an amendment to the 333 Hillside Street. That trench that goes down the driveway is probably no longer necessary. It was necessary before they put that huge catch basin in, Gesundheit.
Thank you.
And that takes the water across the driveway at the Hillside Street location, right at Hillside in the driveway.
Uh-huh.
Wait a minute, I may be confusing this with 339.
333 is the
A
one that
long,
goes,
long driveway.
long driveway down to a very modern-looking house.
house.
Yeah,
Where the turnaround was,
you know, the.
Oh, yeah, well, I know- I know.
Indian family, yeah.
Right, so we may be seeing a redesign of that trench. That's all, because I looked at it
on the
with.
right-hand side of the road going down.
Exactly. I looked at it with Jim Burke last week. There was no water in it. Not much water had gone down it.
And what's
Even in
going
all
on,
this- Even in all this rain.
what's going on with the turnaround for the fire department?
Bill Clark, as of late last week, said he would get the fire chief there again to say whether it was appropriate or not. And the only way to do that is to actually take a fire engine down
Try it.
and to see if it sinks in.
And if it does,
So I don't want to be there when that happens, okay?
get the 60-foot crane to pick it up.
Exactly. So that's, Bill Clark promised me he would have that done within a week. So maybe later on this week, you'll hear something on the,
How are the plantings doing there, Steve?
oh, the plantings look fine, but they are still not at the right elevation. So we had a chat about that with the owner.
So it really was not a replication?
That's correct. It was a landscape planting on the upland. So Jim Burke and I had a chat with the owner. The owner understands what has to be done. Jim Burke understands what has to be done. We'll see if they get it done,
Okay.
okay?
Well, they must get it done.
Well, in order to get a certificate of compliance, they have to get it done, so. And there's a little bit of knotweed coming back, but very small amounts that they can't really address until late August, September, as you know. So otherwise, I was sort of surprised about the trench, not much water had gone down it. In fact, the only source of water in the trench was from the next door property to the east. And we'll
Right.
leave that alone for the moment, okay?
Right, well, there's some drainage pipes that go right through isn't there a wall there?
That's right, yeah,
That
from
dump-
the east, from the property to the east. That's correct.
Okay.
So anyway, we should expect something there.
Doesn't he have an open permit too?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. You mean the guy at the end, that is open.
No, I mean the guy for halfway up the hill.
Halfway up the hill is
Mr.
is Martin
Martin,
Dean.
Yeah.
No,
yes,
he's
he's still working on his,
order of conditions.
his order of conditions, his addition.
Yeah.
He's putting addition on presently.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Wanted to give you a small update with 531 Elliott Street. Needed to do it. Went back out there, saw loom, very nicely done on the backyard. He asked about the trees that he had put down. He had put down 6 dwarf apple trees. They were about 1.5 inches. And he also had, I would say, 6-inch minus rock along the slope, all the way down the slope, along that little stream. Luckily, he had geotext underneath it. He's going to take it out, all of it. He did not understand that.
Was this Tom Palmer, I thought was still,
Tom Palmer evidently is not still involved. I said, look at the
You wouldn't
plan.
have done that, no.
No, Tom wouldn't have done that. He had a landscaper do that. Oh, it's a slope, we gotta put these big rocks. I went like this when I saw it. Anyway,
That's loud.
they're gonna fix it. He's gonna fix it. He's gonna spray it hopefully very soon. The loom looked very good. He said it was worked in. It was very nicely finished off. I found blue jet bead on the property.
No kidding.
At the back fence.
What's that?
It's a non-native, it's a very nice looking shrub. You don't see it very often around here. I've only seen it once, of course, at the Arboretum, which is where I think this came from.
Interesting.
Okay,
What's it
it's
called
just a
again?
blue jet bead.
It's-
Jet bead.
Okay, it's I'm sorry, don't know, it's a Rhodotoxos scandens is the name of it, I think, Latin name.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's opposite leafed, rounded stem, small leaves, look like small elm leaves, small toothed leaves. And it's a blue berry, elongated oval berry. It's just an interesting little shrub. I hadn't seen it for years, literally 5 years ago I saw one. Anyway, sorry, that's a tangent. I will be meeting Mrs. Noble, I guess it is, 1514 Canton Ave.
Yeah, she was here tonight.
Or was she, I'm sorry, I don't know
Mary,
what,
yeah.
I don't know what she looks like, I'm very sorry.
Is that the really small?
Yeah, what are you meeting her about?
She would like to remove some logs in Ballster Brook, and I have a policy question about that. Generally, we have in our mandate the prevention of flood prevention.
Yes.
So I think that's a useful thing to do, most likely without a
Maintenance, it's maintenance.
it's a maintenance activity. So that's what I probably will say to her, just as long as we do it in the dry,
I would
that's
go
all.
with you and look at that, but she knows what she's doing. She has beautiful property.
Okay,
She's right next to the Eustace Estate.
Oh.
That big piece of,
sure.
yes,
11 o'clock next Tuesday
okay.
on that site, if you have the
Yeah, let me
availability.
see if I can.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, happy to do that. Tree hazards. John, I sent you a copy
did.
of the tree hazard issue. I was wondering, as a policy matter, do we act on anything on conservation property if there are trees that people think are dangerous, but we may not think they're dangerous? What do we do about that generally? I'm just asking the
I
question.
think the only time, the last time I can remember was right at the corner of Guile Road and Canton Avenue. That's actually conservation land. When you go in, turn in Guile Road on your right, it's
Yes,
conservation. There's a little strip of
Right.
wooded land next to
Right.
the last house
right.
on Canton Avenue. And there was a tree that was in danger of falling down on they've got a barn or a garage or something in the back. And so we took it, we asked the DPW to go in there, and it became difficult
Sure.
because they couldn't get any equipment in there. They had to send some kid, climbing up there.
Okay.
Which they did, and we took it down. But that was clearly
A
dead.
danger.
That was
Yeah,
clearly
so for the rest of the commission, I'm sorry, 66 Ferncroft, they are worried about trees in the next door neighbor's property, and there's some eastern white pines, and there's a couple of branches broken, but the trees look very, very healthy, very stable. So should we respond, and how should we respond is my question.
It's difficult to generalize in something
Right.
like this, because
Right.
people's opinions of what's
And then,
dangerous and what's
do we have
not,
any
it varies
liability?
greatly.
Do we have any liability if one of them falls? Is the question.
If it were dead and obviously dead,
It's-
and we're on notice that it's dead, yes.
Right.
But if
Thank
it's
you.
not dead,
Right.
then,
They're obviously not dead. There's no indication to me that they're
yeah,
dead.
you
There's a-
you
there's a-
sent me the pictures, they look pretty good to me, so.
Yeah, they're very good trees, so,
But nevertheless, I think we should have a conversation, or maybe you should have a conversation with her and say, yeah.
with the
they
owners,
help-
saying,
yes.
look, we think they're okay. There's just a couple of branches that have come down. That's it. Fine. I just wanted to hear from the commission how.
But does anybody feel differently about that?
Differently.
I-
Thank
You're
you.
right.
That's very helpful, actually.
On that Guile Road property, going by there a couple of times this early spring, I noticed that there's some problematic wood in there.
Problematic wood.
Yeah, it looks like it's on a 45-degree angle.
Oh.
I'll take another.
That kind of
Take
problem.
another look. And if kids get in there and there's harm, are we liable?
Oh, I don't think generally, but when we own a lot of property and a lot of dead trees. But when something is obviously about to come down, if it's gonna hit a line, a power line or a phone line or somebody's property, when we've got obvious damage. But I don't think we have to, be stewards of the land to the extent that we go out and we take out all the
I
dead
agree.
wood.
I was just thinking about the proximity to a high school that has hundreds and hundreds of students in there, many of whom are likely to take shortcuts and things of that nature. So I'll take another look at it as I
Yeah,
drive by
if you think there's a
tomorrow.
danger of coming down, we could ask
Please
DPW
do.
to take it down.
Yeah, and
Thought
let
I
me
saw one
know.
in particular that was.
Yeah.
Did you say Guile Road as well?
Guile, right,
Guile.
that's what we're
Canton
talking
Avenue.
about.
Guile and
So-
Canton.
It's on the right-hand side, just before you get.
Get to high school.
Okay.
So you're talking about on the left side or the right side?
The
Right side.
right-hand side going toward the high school, as you're going up Canton Avenue.
Oh, can't.
Yeah.
You
No, I mean-
take a right, and then
Yeah,
it's on
no,
your
I-
You
right.
know where the yellow house is with the
I take Guile to go.
well in front? It's just
So
opposite
I'm trying to
that.
figure out where you're talking about. Where
Very
the tree
good.
they.
There's a yellow house with a.
Yeah.
And
There's the well out in front of it. It's immediately opposite.
Yeah.
moving along, Hans?
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Fine.
Yeah, I had asked Steve about what we charge for fees in terms of submitting applications.
Yeah.
Just to, just in looking at the commission's site, I didn't see it posted, so.
Oh, it should be. 'Cause we changed this, it goes back a few years, I guess. I think Don Neal was still on the commission when we changed this, but I know we did update it, so that maybe it was 10 or 12 years ago.
Yeah. And so I guess along those lines, I mean, I think we should have a discussion of what information we're providing on the webpage, both, you know, instructive in terms of how to file an application, but also, you know, if there's any improvements we can make in terms of guidance or direction, so.
That's a great idea, and I assume
think
that
it is.
other towns probably are doing it
Absolutely.
right now. Can we steal?
Of
some-
course,
some-
there's no need to
Plagiarize?
reinvent, we're not gonna reinvent the wheel.
Good.
We can, yes, we can steal.
I was wondering actually if the last family that was here was having difficulty understanding what they were expected to
obligations
provide
were.
to us and what the sequence was and
Sure.
14 days before, if that information just was not available to them, or if they had somehow missed it, or if there was a language barrier, I didn't understand.
All of the above, probably,
Okay, okay.
my guess.
I felt badly that they keep coming and sound surprised when we're asking them for information that seems very routine, and expected of anyone that would have been in that
Right.
situation.
Sure. And just 17th September, just a notice. And I note that, I will bring it up, that we did not work on the financial figures, but we shall work on them in the next month. Okay, to get you a better accounting, okay? I'm going to bring that up myself, okay?
Right, and somewhere I've got all of the accounts. Kathy's got them too, because she sent them to me. But I think what's that?
You've said that a few times.
I know. I'm gonna go look for them.
We're waiting
What do
for
I do with those?
Yes,
Okay, is that it?
that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, Steve, very much.
All right.
Second, all in favor, aye, done.
Okay, great.